Chapter 2499. In the ancient city at the center of the Shura battlefield. This ancient city had long since been utterly ruined, and only dilapidated walls remained. However, a mysterious force still remained within the ancient city, and it intimidated all the undead on the battlefield. The Shura tribe, the Yaksha tribe, and other beasts all stopped chasing after the cultivators. They wandered around for a while and then left. In the ancient city, the teams managed to shake off the pursuit of the undead creatures with great difficulty. After rushing into the ancient city, they didn't continue forward. They rested around the city gate, adjusting their breathing. Some of them were heavily injured, some of them were greatly exhausted, and some of them had terrified expressions. They seemed to have suffered a great shock. The murderous chi not only had a strange sealing power, but it could also invade the body of a cultivator and affect their Taoist heart. If they didn't recover from their injuries and calm down, they would be invaded by the murderous chi and lose their minds. In 2 days, the difference between the cultivators was obvious. Only the top 10 cultivators on the heaven roll weren't affected by the murderous chi. Even though they had consumed quite a bit of energy, they were able to recover quickly by simply eating some spirit pills and not having to focus on regulating their breathing. Xie Qingqing hasn't arrived yet. Xie Tianhuang's expression was relaxed as she chuckled. Could it be that he has already left the Azura battlefield? Yu Hai said, there were only a dozen people in his group. It's hard for them to break through the dead souls. He has escaped yet again. The first executioner, Song Su, had a cold look in his eyes. His tone revealed a trace of regret as he said, if I had known earlier, I would have killed him in the flaming sun palace. What a pity! Zhong Feiyu curled his lips. At the same time, under Su Zimo's lead, Xie Qingqing's group finally arrived at the ancient city after many twists and turns, escaping the crisis. Everyone looked at each other with joy on their faces as they heaved a sigh of relief. After entering the ancient city, they didn't have to live in fear all the time. There weren't many awakened dead souls in the Shura battlefield. We met 1 or 2 along the way and killed them easily. Yes, as long as cultivator Su warned us, we'll be prepared. There's nothing to be afraid of. That's right. We were a little careless at the beginning. It was only when we saw with our own eyes that we were frightened. Celestial Immortal Yu Ying said, to tell you the truth, the Shura battlefield isn't as cruel as people make it out to be. If we didn't take those detours, we should be able to reach the ancient city much sooner. Maybe the other teams have already entered the city. As they spoke, Xie Qingqing and the others entered the ancient city. When Celestial Immortal Yu Ying saw the messy footsteps at the city gates, she shook her head and said, I was right. We took too many detours. The other princesses have already arrived here before us. Su Zimo looked indifferent and did not say a word. Just as Celestial Immortal Yu Ying was speaking, the group had already entered the ancient city. They saw a group of cultivators recuperating near the city gates. When the cultivators noticed the commotion, they all opened their eyes and looked over. Both sides stared at each other, dumbfounded on the spot. The city gate fell into a long period of silence. Not a single sound could be heard. How is this possible? The dukes and many cultivators were shocked as their eyes widened. Their hearts were in turmoil as they revealed looks of disbelief. Xie Qingqing and the others had made it here alive. What was even more amazing was that they were only missing a single person. Furthermore, the remaining 17 cultivators, including Xie Qingqing, were all dressed neatly without any bloodstains on their bodies. Their auras were stable and their faces were rosy. None of them looked like they had gone through countless life and death battles to reach this place. When Xie Qingqing, Celestial Immortal Yu Ying and the others saw the formation before them, they were shocked. They did not look like a team of heaven immortals at all. The group of people were scattered all over the place, either sitting or lying on the ground in low spirits. At first glance, they looked like a group of injured and wretched refugees. What was even more frightening was that the heaven immortal experts under the dukes had suffered heavy losses and their numbers were reduced by half. For example, the Dukes of Starflame's team had lost even more heaven immortals. Right now, the Dukes of Starflame's team did not even have as many heaven immortals as them. What did they go through? Did we miss out on something? Countless questions flashed through the minds of celestial immortal Yu Ying and the others. Su Zimo was not surprised by this scene. He turned to look at celestial immortal Yu Ying and patted her on the shoulder, saying earnestly, "Judging from your tone earlier on, you must be complaining that I took a detour. If you're interested, why don't you take a look around yourself?" Celestial immortal Yu Ying shuddered and shook her head hurriedly, smiling awkwardly. "And no, I'm not interested." No matter how slow everyone was to react, they gradually understood by now. If not for Su Zimo leading the way, what they had experienced would not have been as simple as earlier on. Looking at the wretched state of the cultivators, everyone had no doubt that they would not even be able to see the shadow of the ancient city if they were to proceed normally. Xie Qingqing did not say much and looked at Su Zimo gratefully. When they saw Su Zimo and the others appear, Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, and the other experts who were predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven ranking were different from the other cultivators. Immediately after, a look of joy flashed through their eyes. It was the joy of regaining what they had lost. However, none of them attacked immediately. Since Su Zimo had already entered the city, there was no need to rush. Moreover, it was obvious that there was more than one person who was interested in Su Zimo. Among themselves, they had some reservations and had to find a suitable opportunity. Su Zimo did not look at Zhong Feiyu and the others, but he could still sense the hidden hostility from them. He was unmoved. What was to come would come eventually. "Let's take a look inside the ancient city," Su Zimo suggested. Their group was different from the other celestial immortals. They were not injured and did not need to rush to rest and recuperate. Everyone was already convinced by Su Zimo. Even celestial immortal Yu Ying did not object and immediately nodded in agreement. Under the complicated gazes of the other cultivators, Xie Qingqing and the other cultivators entered the depths of the ancient city and disappeared. "Brother Su, you seem to have something on your mind along the way." Xie Qingqing noticed that Su Zimo would often look pensive when he entered the battlefield in Shura. No one knew what he was thinking. Su Zimo did not answer immediately. Along the way, apart from using his spirit sense to lead everyone to avoid danger in advance, he also secretly used a few mystic arts. After a few attempts, he found something strange. This murderous aura could indeed seal the Six Fang's divine power. Even his rock wings would be sealed and could not be used. However, during this period he tried to use the 9 true dragon flashes, 1 heavenly true water, and Nanming primordial fire on the 3 hell-suppressing cauldrons, but they were not sealed. Logically speaking, these 3 mystic arts were also related to demonic beasts. However, the murderous aura did not have much of a reaction to them. What made Su Zimo feel even weirder was that under the influence of the murderous aura, his initial discomfort gradually disappeared. Not only that, the murderous aura seemed to be nourishing his flesh and blood. End of chapter. Chapter 2500. Of course, the feeling was not obvious and was almost undetectable. Su Zimo could not be sure either. This change did not seem to be caused by Qinglian's real body. If she encountered energy that she could absorb, such as some spiritual herbs, Qinglian's real body would have a more obvious reaction. But on the battlefield in Shura, Qinglian's real body was extremely quiet. This murderous aura could seal the 6-tusked divine elephant and the golden-winged great rock, but it could not seal the 9 flashes of the true dragon, the 1 heavenly primordial water, and the Nanming primordial fire. Of course, the reason was that these 3 mystic arts were inherited from the prison-suppressing cauldron. But there was another explanation, and that was that these 3 mystic arts came from the 3 divine beasts. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes lit up. He suddenly thought of a possibility. This murderous aura might have something to do with the white tiger. Only then could this murderous aura be able to seal the power of most of the demonic beasts. Legend had it that the 4 divine beasts were the ancestors of the dragons, phoenixes, tigers, and turtles. They were born in the chaos and ruled over thousands of living beings. In terms of bloodline, the divine beasts were even more powerful than the forbidden beasts. Back on the Dragon Abyss planet, when the green dragon divine soul on the prison-suppressing cauldron awakened, The dragon phoenix divine soul in Su Zimo's primordial spirit felt suppressed. This showed how terrifying the four divine beasts were. If the murderous aura on the battlefield in Shura came from the white tiger, then many things could be explained. The white tiger was located in the west, and it specialized in killing. And this murderous aura contained killing, violence, cruelty, and other emotions. If a cultivator's Tao heart was not stable, they would naturally be invaded by this murderous aura and lose their rationality. And the fallen Shura, Yaksha, and other demonic beasts on the battlefield were also controlled by this murderous aura. They only knew how to kill, and that was why they attacked Su Zimo and the others crazily. There was another important point. His flesh could absorb the murderous aura on the battlefield. It was not because of Qinglian's real body, but because of the mystic art on the fourth wall of the prison-suppressing cauldron. This secret technique was passed down from the white tiger Saint Soul. After the prison-suppressing cauldron was repaired, Su Zimo had obtained the inheritance of this secret technique. However, in the past few years, every time he tried to cultivate, he failed. As a matter of fact, it was extremely difficult for the human race to cultivate the health-suppressing cauldron's four holy souls. The reason why Su Zimo had not encountered any obstacles while practicing the first three secret arts was because he had received many inheritances from the three tribes. He had once condensed the dragon phoenix true body, so it was natural for him to cultivate the 9 flashes of the true dragon and the Nanming primordial fire. As for the one heavenly primordial water that came from the black tortoise holy soul, he had also obtained the innate abhijna of the spirit turtle shield from the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. Therefore, it was not difficult to cultivate. However, the fourth secret technique came from the white tiger Saint Soul. Up until now, he had not even cultivated any cultivation methods or secret skills related to the tiger clan, let alone the white tiger. Therefore, he had not been able to successfully cultivate the fourth legacy secret technique. He had even thought that if his brothers in the lower world, the tiger, were by his side, they might be able to help him. However, the monkey, the tiger, and the little fox had ascended for many years, so they would definitely not be in the heaven realm. Naturally, he could not contact them. Brother Su, Xia Qingqing, who was beside him, saw that Su Zimo was still silent. So she tried to call out to him again. Ah. Su Zimo came back to his senses and smiled apologetically. It's nothing. After pondering for a while, Su Zimo said, there are still more than 20 days before the seal seizing. During this time, anything can happen. Xie Qingqing could clearly hear the hidden meaning in Su Zimo's words. Su Zimo said, if anything happens to me during this time, don't be anxious. Don't give up until the last moment. As for the blood qi, it was only his own speculation. He was not sure, so he did not explain it to Xie Qingqing. Okay. Xie Qingqing did not pursue the matter. She took a deep breath and agreed. The group continued along the streets of the ancient city. The surrounding buildings were long dilapidated. However, it was not hard to guess from the silhouettes of the buildings that human cultivators like them lived in this ancient city in the past. After walking for a while more, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he sensed a slight fluctuation of essence qi. He glanced sideways at a house not far away by the side of the street. This residence seemed to be relatively well preserved. Let's take a look over there. Su Zimo pointed and headed towards the house with Xie Qingqing. When they arrived, Su Zimo pushed the door open without hesitation. The door could not withstand the external force and collapsed, causing dust to fly everywhere. Everyone casually released a few clear dust techniques to disperse the dust in the surroundings. In my opinion, why don't we settle down here? Xie Qingqing looked around. The house was not small and there were more than 10 houses around it for everyone to rest. Su Zimo nodded and had no objections. Following the slight fluctuation of essence qi, he arrived in front of a house and gently pushed open the door. The room was not big and there were some tables, chairs, beds and kitchen utensils in it. Su Zimo's gaze shifted to the wall beside him. It was covered in thick dust and cobwebs. Through it he could vaguely see some marks carved on the wall. The fluctuation of essence qi was emitted from that wall. Su Zimo waved his sleeves and cleared the dust and cobwebs on the wall. He focused his gaze. There were patterns carved on the wall, as though they were depicting a great battle that happened here back then. However, the patterns were no longer clear under the erosion of time. He could only roughly make out some living beings with obvious characteristics. There was a Shura inside that looked indomitable. Its head was already above the clouds as it looked down at the ground with a sinister gaze. Su Zimo counted. This Azura actually had as many as 8 arms. According to Sky Wolf, only the Arch-Realm Shura had 8 arms. Even after so many years, Su Zimo could still sense the terrifying might of the Azura through that tattered diagram. Wielding different weapons with 8 arms, the Azura's might was unparalleled and his martial prowess was unparalleled. Other than the Shura race, Su Zimo also saw the Yiksha race. The 2 types of Yikshas they encountered on the battlefield were also shown on this pattern. There was a small line of words beside the Yiksha race. According to what was written, the Yiksha race had 3 major branches. The Yiksha that Su Zimo and the rest encountered at the beginning belonged to the Earth Yiksha. Later on, the Yiksha that flew down from the sky like a giant bat belonged to the Heavenly Yiksha. There was also the Water Yiksha that lived in the rivers, lakes and seas. Other than the 3 major Yiksha branches, there was an even more powerful Yiksha called the Void Yiksha. It was said that there were very few of them. Chapter 2501. Yiksha was a Sanskrit word that translated as swift ghost. It could bite ghosts, move nimbly and valiantly, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. The pattern on the wall had long been blurred. Su Zimo looked at it carefully but could not find any clues about the blood aura. According to Xie Ling, there was a lake condensed from blood aura in the center of the ancient city. That was the source. Su Zimo left this place and set off to take a look at the center of the ancient city. You guys rest here. I'll go out for a walk. Su Zimo said to Xie Qingqing. Okay. Xie Qingqing nodded. After arriving at the ancient city, there was no Shura clan and other undead chasing after him, so there was no danger for the time being. Su Zimo left the house and walked towards the center of the ancient city. As he went deeper and deeper, the blood aura around him became heavier and denser. The range that his vision and divine sense could explore was still shrinking. Relying on his spirit perception, Su Zimo was fearless as he sped forward in huge strides. About an hour later, he gradually slowed down. Suddenly, Su Zimo leaped up and stood in the air. Looking down, he could see a gigantic lake appearing not too far away. An endless stream of blood aura was spreading out from this lake. In the center of the lake, through the blood mist, he could vaguely see a small island. Unsurprisingly, the Lingxia seal was on it. Su Zimo landed back and came to the edge of the lake. He focused his vision and looked at the lake. The lake was dark and suffused with a strange blood light. He could not see anything and did not know what was in the lake. Su Zimo took out a useless heaven-grade magic treasure from his storage bag. He operated his divine sense and controlled this heaven-grade magic treasure to speed towards the lake. As soon as this heaven-grade magic treasure entered the range of the lake, a few strands of blood aura condensed, as if forming a huge beast head, emitting a ferocious and terrifying aura. Even Su Zimo, who was standing at the edge of the lake, could clearly feel it. He was extremely decisive and directly cut off the connection between his divine sense and the heaven-grade magic treasure. The beast head opened its bloody mouth and instantly swallowed this heaven-rank magic treasure. Then, the beast's head glanced in the direction of Su Zimo. Its eyes were cold and filled with endless killing intent. That single glance sent chills down Su Zimo's spine. If he hadn't severed his divine sense with the heaven-rank magic treasure earlier, then this beast head might even have chased after him. It seemed that Xie Ling was right. It was impossible to cross the lake. At the very least, with his current cultivation, he was completely unable to resist the devouring of this blood-fiendish qi. The 6 true immortals of the divine firmament's palace, who were hovering in the air above the ancient city, had also noticed what was happening. Shen Zhe smiled faintly and said, "This Su Zimo is quite cautious, and his reaction is also fast. No wonder he could avoid shadowless assassination." Fairy Divine Crane suddenly frowned. "He's in trouble. Not only her, but the other 5 perfected immortals had also noticed that within the blood fog, there were 6 figures moving in different directions, stealthily moving towards Su Zimo's position. They were getting closer and closer. I can understand why Song Su and Zhong Feiyu want to deal with Su Zimo. After all, this kid has a deep grudge with the Great Jin Celestial Nation and Zither Fairy of the Flying Celestial Sect. Shen Hong perfected immortal frowned. But Lai Xian, Xie Tianhuang, Yu Hai, and Luo Yang don't seem to have any grudges with this kid, right? Shen Yen chuckled and said, "Don't forget, this kid has the Jade Purity Jade Book. Not to mention the 4 of them, even I am tempted. It's just that due to my status, I can't make a move." If the Jade Purity Jade Book was taken away in a battle of the same level, then it was Su Zimo's own cultivation that was not strong enough, and he couldn't blame anyone else. However, as perfected immortals, if they made a move on Su Zimo, it would be bullying the weak. The Divine Firmament Palace couldn't afford to lose face like this. It's predicted that the 6 perfected immortals in the top 10 of the heaven list will besiege Su Zimo from the academy. This kid is going to be eliminated. Shen Yun crossed his arms, looking like he was watching a show. Shen Hong also pursed her lips and said, looking at the situation, if it were Yun Ting or Qin Gu, it would be difficult for them to escape unscathed. Su Zimo looked at the lake in front of him, deep in thought and hesitant. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. He narrowed his eyes slightly and slowly turned around. Looking at the depths of the blood fog in front of him, he said, "Since everyone is here, show yourselves." Clap, clap, clap. Luo Yang Celestial was the first to walk out. She clapped her hands and looked at Su Zimo meaningfully. She said, "Su Zimo, I didn't expect to see you here after we parted on the Longyuan planet." Yu Hai also walked out from another part of the blood fog and praised, "What sharp senses. I can't hide from you." Immediately after, Song Su appeared, holding the executioner's saber in his hand. His entire body was filled with murderous aura. He stared at Su Zimo, as if he could kill him at any time. "Yo, it's so lively." The red-haired Xie Tianhuang also slowly appeared, with a cynical smile on her face. A blazing light broke through the blood fog, and Lai Xian walked out slowly. Looking at the 5 perfected immortals in the top 10 of the heaven list, Su Zimo looked calm and was not surprised. "Su Zimo, do you have any last words?" Song Su asked coldly. Su Zimo did not answer. He looked at the depths of the blood fog on the other side and said, "Zhong Feiyu, how long are you going to stay in there?" Interesting. After a moment of silence, a chuckle suddenly came from the blood fog. Zhong Feiyu looked at Su Zimo, and his figure slowly appeared. He said in surprise, "You can find my trace?" Seeing that everyone had arrived, Su Zimo asked calmly, "Why? Are you all going to attack together?" Yu Hai was the first to take a step back. He spread out his hands and said, "I'm just here to join in the fun. You guys continue." He was indeed tempted by the Jade Purity Jade Scroll, but there were 5 people ranked above him. The situation was chaotic, and he did not want to get involved. However, the 6 people's positions were very particular. They formed a semicircle formation, blocking all of Su Zimo's escape routes. Although Yu Hai said that he would not interfere, his position still blocked one of Su Zimo's escape routes. If Su Zimo chose to escape in his direction, he would be sending himself to his doorstep and he would have no choice but to accept it. In the eyes of the 6 people, Su Zimo was already a bird in a cage. Song Su said, "The Jade Purity Jade Scroll is with him, but I think we should kill him first and then decide on the Jade Purity." Before Song Su could finish, his face suddenly changed. Su Zimo's figure had disappeared from the spot. A biting cold murderous intent instantly shrouded him. When Su Zimo appeared again, he was already behind Song Su. Without hesitation, he reached out his hand and slammed it down on Song Su's head. Song Su came from the Dajin Celestial Nation. There was no room for negotiation between the two of them. Song Su wanted to kill him, and he did not plan to let him go. This move was indeed beyond everyone's expectations. No one expected that Su Zimo would not escape when surrounded by the 6 of them. Instead, he dared to attack them first. Chapter 2502. Although he was unprepared, Song Su's reaction speed was extremely fast due to his countless life and death experiences. He didn't turn around, and he didn't have time. Su Zimo's attacks were ferocious and fast. At this level, any mistake could lead to serious injuries. Song Su's back was facing Su Zimo as he executed the execution steps, and blades appeared under his feet. The execution steps wasn't just a movement technique, but also a counterattack technique. Numerous blades tore open a gap under Su Zimo's great chaos palm, and Song Su dodged to the side. This reaction showed Song Su's strength. None of the experts in the top 10 of the heaven list were easy to deal with. Especially someone like Song Su, who was able to sit at the top of the Great Jin Celestial Nation's executioner guard. Who knew how many corpses and blood he had stepped on? Song Su's counterattack didn't stop there. After avoiding Su Zimo's great chaos essence palm, Song Su suddenly opened his mouth and released an ear-piercing sound domain secret skill that resembled metal clashing. At the same time, Song Su pulled out his executioner saber and slashed at Su Zimo. At the same time, Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian, Xie Tianhuang, and Luo Yang prepared to attack. If Su Zimo was killed by Song Su alone, then they wouldn't have a reason to snatch the Jade Purity Book and divide the other treasures on Su Zimo. Everyone wanted a share of the loot. Roar! Just as Song Su used the sound domain secret technique, Su Zimo also used the dragon roar secret technique, and a deafening roar came from the depths of his throat. This dragon roar secret technique was created by combining many sound domain secret techniques with the Azure Dragon's roar as the foundation. Even the murderous aura couldn't suppress it. The dragon roar instantly suppressed Song Su's sound domain secret technique. Zhong Feiyu and the others felt the terrifying power contained in the dragon roar secret technique, and they didn't dare to be careless. Although Xie Tianhuang also knew the heavenly phoenix cry, she couldn't release it due to the suppression of the blood qi in the Shura battlefield. She could only retreat, temporarily leaving the range of the dragon roar secret technique. On the other hand, Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian, and Luo Yang Heavenly Immortal didn't retreat. Instead, they unleashed their respective sound domain secret techniques and went against the flow. Ever since Su Zimo cultivated the dragon roar mystic technique, he was practically invincible among those of the same rank. At close range, cultivators with weak physical bodies would be killed on the spot. Even if his physical body and bloodline were extraordinary, he would still suffer a great impact and lose his focus, allowing him to seize the initiative and take control of the situation. But now, in the battlefield of Shura, Su Zimo was unable to release the Six Fangs God power. Su Zimo's strength was far from reaching its peak. The power of the Dragon Roar secret technique was also greatly reduced. On top of that, Song Su was an expert in close combat, and his body and bloodline were strong. With the support of Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian, and Luo Yang Heavenly Immortal, the Dragon Roar secret art did not have any effect. Several sound domain secret techniques clashed in mid-air and soon dissipated. He predicted that the top 10 on the Heaven leaderboard would be more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Humph! Su Zimo's expression didn't change. His body suddenly flickered and disappeared again. Swoosh! Song Su's backhand slash missed. All of a sudden, Su Zimo appeared beside him once more and clenched his fingers into the shape of a sword, pointing towards the back of Song Su's head with a sharp glint. Clang! Song Su didn't turn around. He twisted his body and the executioner's saber suddenly appeared from under his ribs. It clashed with Su Zimo's saber, and a crisp sound rang out. Both of them trembled slightly. At the same time, Su Zimo released his 3 heads and 6 arms. His 6 palms conjured hand seals continuously as he channeled his spirit consciousness. Then, he released 4 supreme divine abilities consecutively in the direction of Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian, and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang. Circle Prison. A giant cage suddenly appeared under Zhong Feiyu's feet and instantly enveloped Zhong Feiyu. Fleeting Youth. This superpower instantly descended and slashed at Lai Xian. Kill Formula. The 3rd superpower was released and charged at Luo Yang Heavenly Immortal. Permetha Bridge. A shimmering golden bridge extended beneath Su Zimo's feet and tore through the air, charging towards Xie Tianhuang, who was charging over. Releasing 4 superpowers consecutively had a high demand on one's primordial spirit. If one's primordial spirit wasn't condensed enough, it would most likely collapse on the spot. Su Zimo's first move was 1 against 5. These 4 superpowers couldn't kill Zhong Feiyu and the other 3, but they could delay them for a moment. The time he had gained was for him and Song Su to have a one-on-one fight. Song Su obviously realized this as well. "How dare you?" He wasn't afraid at all. His eyes shone brightly as he stabilized his footing. His left hand formed a hand seal and activated his primordial spirit, releasing his superpowers. 5 Horses Dismemberment. The Great Jin Celestial Nation had 10 execution superpowers. Each of them was extremely powerful and vicious. Generally speaking, only those of the royal bloodline or cultivators who had contributed greatly to the Great Jin Celestial Nation could learn them. 5 Horses Dismemberment was one of them. The fact that Song Su could cultivate this superpower showed that his status in the Great Jin Celestial Nation was not low. Endless power of divine powers circled around Su Zimo. The reason why this superpower was so powerful was that it contained not only the power of killing, but also the power of confinement. Shackles instantly formed on Su Zimo's neck, wrists, and ankles, locking him tightly. At the same time, these shackles were connected to 5 thick iron chains. The other end of the iron chains was wrapped around the 5 divine horses. They exerted force at the same time and galloped in 5 different directions. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. Indeed, there was a tearing sensation between the joints of Qinglian's limbs. Although it was not intense, it still made his heart skip a beat. After Song Su released 5 Horses Dismemberment, he did not stop. He raised his saber and slashed down on Su Zimo's head. Swoosh! A sinister and cold saber intent enveloped him. Su Zimo felt as though he was in a torture hell. Countless ghosts wandered around him with all sorts of torture tools in their hands. They were laughing sinisterly at him, ready to torture him at any time. He predicted that Song Su's counterattack would be so fierce and powerful. Suddenly, a resplendent starry sky appeared above Su Zimo's head. Billions of starlight fell and surged into his body, causing his strength to increase exponentially. The mystic spirit Big Dipper diagram descended and broke through Song Su's execution saber intent instantly. At the same time, Su Zimo made use of the power of the stars to break free from the shackles of 5 Horses Dismemberment. In a flash, he used the True Dragon's 9 flashes and appeared beside Song Su again, seizing the initiative. Song Su was already prepared for this. He had already backhanded his saber and chopped down. This time, after Su Zimo's figure appeared, he did not stop. In a flash, he disappeared and appeared on the other side of Song Su again. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo changed his position 4 times consecutively. Song Su was a little overwhelmed and could not determine where Su Zimo would land. Finally, he found a flaw. Chapter 2503. Su Zimo conjured sword seals with both hands and his gaze was cold. A chilling killing intent burst forth from him and surged into the clouds. Heaven's killing intent, shifting the stars. Earth's killing intent, dragon snake rising. Heaven slaying in his left hand and earth slaying in his right. Su Zimo wielded the 2 sword arts and was prepared to kill Song Su on the spot. That killing intent was way too strong. As the number 1 heavenly slaying guard, Song Su was in charge of punishment and killing. Even though he had an iron-blooded killing intent, he could not withstand it. Billions of heaven-slaying sword chi condensed into a heaven-slaying sword in Su Zimo's left hand and slashed down. At the same time, the skies changed color and the earth quaked. Above Song Su's head, a divine dragon condensed from the earth-slaying sword chi was faintly discernible. Behind him, a soaring serpent broke out of the ground. Dragon-snake combined strike, heaven and earth slaying. The earth-slaying sword chi was the pinnacle of killing. The malevolent blood chi also contained an extreme killing intent. Because the 2 of them were extremely similar, the suppression of the earth-slaying sword chi was not great. That was why Su Zimo was able to condense the dragon-snake sword chi. Song Su's expression changed a few times as raging waves surged in his heart. To think that he would be forced into such a state in the battle between the two of them. Of course, he knew that as long as he could withstand Su Zimo's attack this time round, he would be able to avert danger. That was because on the other side, Zhong Feiyu and the others were about to break free as well. However, it was difficult for him to ensure that he could escape unscathed against the combined attack of heaven and earth slaying. Sush. Against this crisis, Song Su channeled his bloodline to its limits and the sound of a tsunami surged within his body. A gigantic punishment blade appeared behind him. It was a bloodline phenomenon. The punishment blade slashed down towards the heaven-slaying sword in Su Zimo's left hand. Boom! The saber and sword collided with a deafening sound that shook the world. Song Su's bloodline phenomenon shook violently and almost collapsed. As for the heavenly slaying sword, it was smashed into pieces, turning into streams of origin chi that scattered into the void. At the same time, the dragon snake combined strike enveloped down. Song Su ignored the soaring serpent that broke out of the ground beneath his feet and slashed towards the divine dragon in midair. Clang! The saber stood on top of the divine dragon's head. Both of them trembled and went still. It was as if time and space had frozen. Following that, countless dragon scales fell off the divine dragon's body. The earth-slaying sword chi's divine dragon dissipated on the spot, vanishing into nothingness. At this moment, Song Su had no time to resist the soaring serpents of sword chi behind him, and he could only release his origin energy to surge into the executioner armor on his body, causing numerous markings to surge out. The soaring serpent slammed heavily into his back. Pooh! Song Su felt as if he was struck by lightning, his body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The light of the executioner armor he was wearing quickly dimmed. Although the executioner's armor had been reduced to scrap metal, it had helped him block most of the damage from the earth-slaying sword chi. To him, this injury could be healed in the span of a few breaths. Pooh! A great spear pierced through Su Zimo's head, but no blood appeared. This head was one of the heads condensed from the 3 heads and 6 arms. Even if it shattered, it wouldn't affect him much. Yu Hai, who had been watching from the side, finally made his move. He was quite particular about the timing of his attack. When Song Su was in danger, he didn't help Song Su resolve the crisis or block the damage. After all, to him, even if Song Su was killed by Su Zimo, it would mean that he had one less competitor. Yu Hai made his move and went straight for Su Zimo. At that time, Su Zimo was holding the dual-killing sword chi of heaven and earth. Although he sensed Yu Hai's movement, he couldn't be distracted and ignored it. He wanted to kill Song Su first before dealing with Yu Hai. He didn't expect Song Su to have so many trump cards that he could survive the dual-killing sword chi of heaven and earth. What a pity! Su Zimo thought to himself. If he could release the 6 Fangs divine power or cultivate to level 7 heaven immortal, his combat strength would be doubled or even more. Just now, it would be a different situation. Boom! On the other side, Zhong Feiyu broke free from the divine power of prison painting and rushed over. Luo Yang heaven immortal and Xie Tianhuang followed almost at the same time and surrounded him. It was just the kill character formula and the Permitha Bridge's exceptional Abhijna, which posed no threat to the two of them. The only one who was in trouble was Lai Xian. As soon as the fleeting youth was released, the experience he gained from countless battles of life and death reminded him that this peerless mystique was extremely dangerous. Lai Xian didn't dare to be careless and released 2 divine powers. However, that sense of danger didn't disappear. Instead, it became even stronger. On the battlefield, amidst the earth-shattering collisions, he even keenly caught a trace of a strange drum sound. Oh no! Lai Xian suddenly remembered the evaluation of Su Zimo on the heaven ranking. It said that Su Zimo was skilled in a divine power that could reduce one's lifespan. It was extremely powerful. Lai Xian didn't have time to think. He directly activated his bloodline to the extreme and released the bloodline avatar. Behind him, his blood chi surged and blazing suns appeared one after another. They emitted a bedazzling brilliance and spewed scorching flames. In the blink of an eye, 7 blazing suns appeared. The sense of danger was still there. Lai Yan's eyes flashed with decisiveness as she strengthened her bloodline again. In this bloodline avatar, after the 7 blazing suns, 2 more blazing suns appeared. 9 blazing suns descended, illuminating the world. 9 suns in the sky. The Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom's top cultivation technique, the Flaming Sun Sutra, could only be cultivated by the royal family. Legend had it that 9 suns in the sky was the peak of the Flaming Sun Sutra. Before this, Lai Xian had only summoned 8 blazing suns at most when he fought with others. But now, Su Zimo's casual divine power almost forced him to use his strongest trump card. 9 suns in the sky. The sense of danger in his heart finally disappeared. Before the power of the fleeting youth divine ability could descend upon Lai Xian, it was burned into vital energy by the 9 burning suns behind him and dissipated into the air. Lai Xian stood on the spot, his breathing unstable as he felt a lingering fear. If he hadn't reacted quickly, who knew what terrifying consequences would have happened just now? Lai Xian slowly calmed himself down and didn't go up to kill Su Zimo immediately. This kid's combat strength is ranked 24th on the heaven ranking? What kind of joke is this? Lai Xian's heart was suddenly filled with anger. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this kind of skill was ranked in the top 10 of the heaven ranking. At the same time, Lai Xian had another thought. This Su Zimo was only a rank 6 heavenly immortal now, and he could already use such skills. If he cultivated to rank 9, how powerful would he be? You deserve to die. Zhong Feiyu was the first to arrive. Without seeing him do anything, a sword light appeared. It flashed and disappeared. Su Zimo didn't have time to react. He just instinctively dodged with his spiritual sense. Splat. Su Zimo's head was pierced again. 2 of his arms were also silently chopped off. At this point in the battle, Su Zimo's 3 heads and 6 arms were almost crippled. Xie Tianhuang and Luo Yang's divine powers and secret techniques also enveloped him. Chapter 2504. In the sky above the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals of the divine firmament palace saw the fierce battle below. Although the battle was short, the 6 perfected immortals' eyes lit up. The 6 perfected immortals already knew about Zhong Feiyu's methods and combat power. There was also a detailed introduction on the heaven leaderboard. However, the 6 perfected immortals did not know much about him. Because Su Zimo's battle results were too few, only 2, they couldn't make an accurate evaluation. What happened just now made the 6 perfected immortals re-evaluate Su Zimo's ranking on the heaven leaderboard. Shenhong praised. He fought against 5 at the beginning, but he wasn't defeated. Instead, he fought back and even injured Song Su. This kind of combat power and control of the situation is a little scary. Just a peerless divine power was enough to force Lai Xian to use the 9 suns in the sky bloodline phenomenon. It really surprised me. Shinza still couldn't believe it. It's a pity that this kid's cultivation is a little low. If it's a life and death battle, he still has too many weaknesses. Xin Yan looked regretful. Although he didn't say it explicitly, the other perfected immortals understood. If one's cultivation was low, they would have obvious weaknesses in terms of essence qi, essence spirit, consumption, and head-on battles. Su Zimo had injured Song Su in the battle just now. But that kind of injury didn't affect Song Su at all. If the battle continued, Song Su would still win in everyone's opinion. Shinha suddenly said, "Even so, I think this kid's ranking is enough to be in the top 10. Of course. Shinfeng nodded. The others didn't have any objections to this ranking. Even if Su Zimo tore the teleportation talisman and left the battlefield in Shura, the combat power he showed just now was enough to be in the top 10 of the heaven leaderboard. Shenhong took out the heaven leaderboard and slowly opened it, raising Su Zimo's ranking from 24th to 10th. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix, who was originally 10th, was pushed to 11th. Who's going to write the evaluation? Shenhong asked. Shinha, I think she thinks highly of Su Zimo, Shenfeng said with a smile. Fairy Divine Crane did not decline. She stepped forward and condensed her true essence at her fingertips. Using her finger as a pen, She prepared to write her latest evaluation of Su Zimo on the prediction heaven list. It was predicted that the higher one's ranking was on the heaven leaderboard, the harder it would be to improve. For example, Su Zimo, who was originally ranked 24th, had risen by more than 10 places. He had to give a convincing reason. Wait. Fairy Divine Crane was about to write when the other true immortals suddenly spoke up and stopped her. When Fairy Divine Crane saw them frowning and looking at the ancient city below with serious expressions, she subconsciously looked over as well. In the center of the ancient city, the 6 predicted powerhouses on the heaven list regrouped. They put away their contempt, and the pressure on Su Zimo increased greatly. These 6 people were much more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. All of them were ruthless people. Song Su let him get close to him and continuously used his killer moves to attack him. If it was any other cultivator, they would have died long ago. Song Su only spat out a mouthful of blood, and in the blink of an eye, his injuries were healed. Of course, if Su Zimo continued to attack Song Su with his means, he still had a 70% chance of killing Song Su on the spot. But this was almost his limit. Other than killing Song Su, he did not have any energy left to continue fighting with the other 5 people. He could only escape. Su Zimo was already prepared to enter the bottom of the lake behind him to find out what was going on. If he killed Song Su and entered the bottom of the lake, the Duke of Mingjiong would definitely vent his anger on Xie Qingqing and eliminate her early. At that time, even if he could find out the secret at the bottom of the lake and come back alive, he would not have the chance to help Xie Qingqing obtain the Lingxia seal. At this point, Su Zimo had already made up his mind. Facing the attacks of Zhong Feiyu, Luo Yang Tianxian, and Xie Tianhuang, he formed the immovable deity seal and entered a defensive posture. Boom! Boom! Luo Yang Tianxian and Xie Tianhuang's peerless powers descended and attacked Su Zimo's body. Even the immovable deity seal could not withstand it. Su Zimo could not control his body and kept retreating. Zhong Feiyu's sword appeared again. But this time round, Su Zimo made use of his powerful spirit perception to grab the sword that was as thin as a cicada's wing with his bare hands. He felt a sharp pain in his palm and blood dripped out. Good sword, Su Zimo praised. This praise came from the bottom of his heart. Qinglian's true body was cultivated to the 11th grade. She also cultivated the Pure Jade Manual, Divine Elephant Breath Devouring Technique, Void Thunder Manual, and other powerful body refining techniques. Her flesh was already indestructible and was even stronger than a Xiantian heaven-grade magical treasure. But now, Zhong Feiyu's thin sword was able to cut his palm. Of course, Su Zimo held the sword tightly. The tip of the sword was only a few millimeters away from his forehead. But Zhong Feiyu's sword could not pierce through. Zhong Feiyu channeled his blood essence and exerted force again. He held back and did not use his bloodline anomaly. He only channeled his blood essence to the level of tidal waves and stabbed forward with his sword. Su Zimo seemed to be unable to withstand this force and could only let go of his palm. In order to avoid Zhong Feiyu's sword, he retreated again. Stop chasing! Seeing this, Song Su and the others suddenly shouted. Zhong Feiyu seemed to have realized something and quickly stopped. Su Zimo's body was already above the lake. Above the lake, the murderous aura seemed to have been stimulated by something. It quickly condensed into vines and wrapped around Su Zimo's body. Under the gaze of Zhong Feiyu and the others, the murderous aura instantly pulled Su Zimo into the lake and disappeared. Su Zimo did not even have time to use his teleportation talisman. F***CK. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang cursed. Song Su's face was also gloomy and unresigned. After Su Zimo was swallowed by the murderous aura and fell into the lake, he would definitely die. However, they would not have the chance to obtain the Pure Jade Manual and other treasures on him. A hint of joy flashed across the eyes of the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix. Falling into the lake meant falling into the hands of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom. At that time, if he could obtain the Lingxia seal, his father would be pleased and might even allow him to cultivate the Pure Jade Manual. Zhong Feiyu, you are too hasty. Song Su said coldly, he has used up all his trump cards and is trapped by us. He can't escape even if he has wings. Why did you throw him into the lake? Of course, Zhong Feiyu did not want to do so. Until now, he still did not understand why Su Zimo, who was so ferocious earlier, suddenly became so careless and retreated to the top of the lake, only to be swallowed by it. Although this was what he thought, Zhong Feiyu was a reincarnated true immortal and ranked above Song Su. Naturally, he would not show any weakness. You want the pure jade manual? Zhong Feiyu smirked and pointed at the lake behind him. It is in there. If you want it, go in and get it yourself. Song Su squinted his eyes and a cold light flashed across them. Don't worry. I can guarantee that the pure jade manual is in good condition and will not be damaged by the murderous aura. Zhong Feiyu sneered again and turned to leave. Originally, with Su Zimo around, they had a common goal and could still maintain peace on the surface. However, now that Su Zimo was dead, the people on the heaven list were expected to return to their initial state of being wary and hostile towards each other. The remaining 5 people were unwilling to give up. They lingered at the edge of the lake for a long time before finally leaving. Chapter 2505. Above the ancient city. The 6 perfected immortals of the divine firmament palace looked at the scene with complicated expressions and a hint of pity. It's a pity that this kid is still too young and lacks battle experience. He neglected his surroundings and ended up in such a state. Shen Hong sighed. Shen Yun said, if he could tear the teleportation talisman in time, he could have escaped. It's a pity to think that such a genius would fall in the battlefield of Shura. It's such a pity. A genius who dies prematurely is not a genius. Since ancient times, there have been countless geniuses who died prematurely. Who can remember them? The 5 of them discussed. Divine Crane Fairy frowned slightly and did not say a word, as if she still had not recovered from the scene. I'm afraid the predicted heaven list will have to be revised again. Shen Hong smiled bitterly. This Su Zimo has created a new record. He just entered the top 10 of the heaven list, but he died and was removed from the list. If a cultivator on the heaven list died, they would naturally be removed from the list. The predicted heaven list was in Divine Crane Fairy's hands. The evaluation of Su Zimo's 10th place had not been written yet. When Shen Hong saw that Fairy Divine Crane was not moving, she had no choice but to retrieve the heaven ranking and erase all information and traces related to Su Zimo from the heaven ranking. Divine Crane Fairy shook her head. What's wrong? Shen Yen said, Divine Crane, I know you think highly of this kid, but he's already dead. Naturally, he can't be on the predicted heaven list. Divine Crane Fairy said, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when he fell into the lake. Although it seems like he was forced down by Zhong Feiyu, don't you think it's a little strange? Shen Hong and the others looked at each other and did not say a word. In fact, when they saw Su Zimo fall into the lake, their first reaction was indeed a little shock and disbelief. Divine Crane Fairy continued, in the process of fighting the 6 heavenly immortals, his control of the situation, his reaction, and his methods were perfect. It shows that this kid is extremely talented in battle. How could he be defeated so suddenly? Moreover, he made such a low-level mistake and didn't even tear up the teleportation talisman when he had no way to retreat? Divine Wind speculated, maybe he was just lucky? This kid was unwilling to leave, so he didn't tear up the teleportation talisman. By the time he realized how terrifying the lake was, it would already be too late. Fairy Shen Crane shook her head slightly, expressing her doubts. Shen Hong didn't understand and asked, Shenhe, are you trying to say that Zhong Feiyu didn't force this kid to fall into the lake, but he did it on purpose? Fairy God Crane was silent. She did have this idea in her heart, although it sounded a little ridiculous. Shen Zhe chuckled softly and said, could it be that this child has taken things too hard and is seeking his own death? Divine Crane, the lake below us is formed by blood evil chi. Even if we fall in, we might not survive. Shen Yen felt a little helpless. He smiled and said, it doesn't matter if he did it intentionally or not. He has already fallen into the lake. The result is death. Fairy Divine Crane did not answer. She activated her divine sense and probed into the lake as much as she could. Even with her divine sense, She was unable to reach the bottom of the lake. Probing the middle of the lake was already her limit. Suddenly, she detected a life force in the middle of the lake. It was extremely similar to Suzimo's aura. "He's not dead yet?" Fairy Divine Crane's words were shocking, and her eyes lit up. The other 5 perfected immortals' expressions changed slightly. They knew that Fairy Divine Crane would not joke about this matter. They hurriedly extended their divine senses into the lake. As expected, they also felt Suzimo's life force in the lake. Although it was fluctuating violently, it was obvious that he was still alive. "He's not dead?" The perfected immortal's eyes were filled with disbelief. Even if he's not dead, how long can he last in the Blood Evil Lake? Shenzhe expressed his doubts about this matter. Shen Yun pondered and said, "Moreover, even if he's lucky enough to crawl out alive, his primordial spirit and Tao heart will be eroded by the Blood Evil Qi. This person will be completely crippled." Fairy Divine Crane said, "Regardless, as long as he's not dead, his name should not be removed from the heaven ranking." Shen Hong said in a low voice, "What Divine Crane said makes sense. However, after this calamity, whether he can recover his previous combat strength is still unknown. Moreover, the possibility of him being crippled is very high. I suggest that he be relisted on the heaven ranking. However, this ranking can only temporarily place him at the bottom of the heaven ranking." Fairy Divine Crane nodded. She had no objections to this arrangement. In the lake, a figure was slowly sinking. Fairy Divine Crane's guess was right. Suzimo entering the lake was naturally part of his plan. After falling into the lake, the thick Blood Evil Qi in the lake was much more terrifying than he had imagined. The Blood Evil Qi had already condensed into a lake. One could only imagine the level of this power. An endless stream of Blood Evil Qi flowed through Suzimo's pores into his body, rampaging and destroying all life force. Even his sea of consciousness was invaded by the Blood Evil Qi. Endless violent and murderous emotions battered his Tao heart. However, his Tao heart was firm and unshakable. He could still maintain his consciousness. He hurriedly recited the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. At the same time, he channeled the one heavenly primordial water to form a barrier around his body. This mystic technique passed down by the Black Tortoise Saint's soul was the most effective in the lake. Even so, the Blood Evil Qi in the lake still surged in from all directions. The one heavenly primordial water's Tao heart could not withstand it at all. Suzimo's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly recited the mystic technique passed down by the White Tiger Saint's soul. Although he did not understand the meaning of this mystic technique, every time he recited it, the pressure around him would lessen a little. As expected, before this he had only speculated. Now, he was almost certain that the Blood Evil Qi in the Shura battlefield was definitely related to the White Tiger Saint Beast. This was the Blood Evil Qi of the White Tiger. Suzimo recited the mystic technique repeatedly. The Blood Evil Qi's attack on him gradually weakened. Originally, to the Blood Evil Qi in the lake, Suzimo was just an outsider. That was why it attacked him so crazily. However, Suzimo's repeated recitation of the mystic technique passed down by the White Tiger Saint's soul caused a trace of aura similar to the White Tiger's to appear on his body. He merged with the Blood Evil Qi in the lake and became one. Normally, even a perfected immortal would not be able to withstand the corrosion of the Blood Evil Qi in the lake. However, Suzimo had already cultivated a mystic technique passed down by the White Tiger Saint's soul. This caused his body to have a trace of the White Tiger's aura. The Blood Evil Qi in the surroundings would naturally not have any hostility towards someone with the White Tiger's aura. Suzimo resolved the crisis and felt relieved. As he continued to fall, he vaguely sensed a strange feeling from another direction at the bottom of the lake. It resonated with the mystic technique he was reciting. Suzimo followed this feeling and continued to dive towards the bottom of the lake. Chapter 2506. Heaven and Earth Academy, Inner Court Square. Apart from some academy cultivators, there were also thousands of heaven immortals from the various sects and factions of the divine firmament's celestial realm. They all wanted to challenge Suzimo. Later, When they heard that Su Zimo had entered the Shura battlefield and predicted that the heaven list would be updated in real time, these people did not leave. Firstly, they could watch the heaven list rankings here at any time. Secondly, when Su Zimo returned, they could immediately stop him. The battle for the seal was only a month away. Everyone could afford to wait. Heaven and Earth Academy valued etiquette, so they naturally could not casually chase away guests. Now that Su Zimo was not in the academy, everything was under Yan Bingying's control. Moreover, many academy disciples were extremely concerned about the results of this seal battle and gathered here together. The number of people in the square was increasing. "Look, there's a change in the rankings." Someone in the crowd screamed. "Oh my God! Senior brother Su is in the top 10. It's only been 2 days since the seal battle, but senior brother Su has risen by more than 10 places. It's too terrifying. Senior brother Su must have fought a tough battle. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to rise so many ranks and enter the top 10. Many academy disciples were excited as they discussed. Yan Bingying smiled, feeling a little happy. During this period of time, Heaven and Earth Academy had been provoked by these foreign cultivators, but Su Zimo had avoided the battle and attracted a lot of mockery. Now, seeing Su Zimo's ranking suddenly soar and enter the top 10, the academy disciples felt elated. When these foreign cultivators saw the ranking, their expressions were a little ugly. They had originally thought that Su Zimo's ranking was too fake, so they dared to challenge him. They did not expect that Su Zimo would enter the top 10 of the heaven list as soon as the seal battle began. The Divine Firmament Palace's 6 perfected immortals were personally overseeing the Shura battlefield, so the record naturally could not be wrong. "Why aren't you saying anything?" A academy disciple sneered. "Where's the arrogance from before? Our senior brother Su avoided the battle because he couldn't be bothered with you. Do you really think you're something? People have to know their limits. If you want to challenge senior brother Su, you have to reach that level first." In the face of the academy disciples' mockery, the stage 9 heaven immortals from the Flying Celestial Sect, Great Jin Celestial Kingdom, and Zixuan Celestial Kingdom were embarrassed. The Flying Immortal Sect's Tianjia smiled embarrassedly and said indifferently, "Fellow Taoist Su's methods are admirable. Are you still not leaving?" Yan Bingying asked her. This ranking was like a slap to the faces of these foreign cultivators. Many people were Zhiming Yu's disciple were and they were ready to leave. The Great Jin Celestial Nation's Ling Mu continued to put up a strong front. He said stubbornly, "It won't be too late to leave after seeing the Divine Firmament Palace's evaluation." Heaven right at this moment, Zixuan Immortal Kingdom's 100 Flower Fairy's expression changed. She pointed at the huge heaven ranking and shouted, "Look, Su Zimo's ranking has disappeared." Everyone turned to look at the prediction heaven list. Heaven Earth God. The King, S was Royal Duke King Duke. Everyone searched carefully on the ranking, but they could not find Su Zimo. All information about Su Zimo had disappeared. It was as if he had never been on the ranking. How could this be? What happened? The academy disciples whispered among themselves. Ling Mu from the Great Jin Celestial Kingdom suddenly laughed. "I didn't expect Su Zimo to die in the Shura battlefield." "What did you say?" One of the academy disciples frowned. "Senior brother Su's combat strength is in the top 10 of the ranking. How could he die so easily?" "You don't believe me?" Ling Mu sneered. "If he didn't die, he wouldn't have been removed from the ranking." Tianjia from the Flying Celestial Sect nodded. "That's right. As long as Su Zimo is still alive, even if he was defeated in the Shura battlefield, his ranking would only drop slowly. There's only one possibility. He's dead." Yan Bingying's face turned pale. Although she didn't want to believe it, she knew that what Ling Mu said was mostly true. Fairy of 100 Flowers from the Zixuan Celestial Kingdom covered her mouth and laughed. "What a joke. Your senior brother Su is indeed an embroidered pillow. He looks good but is useless. He was in the top 10 of the ranking just now." How could? There were still many academy disciples who didn't want to believe it. Something went wrong. Tianjia smiled and said, "Su Zimo was in the top 10 just now, but he didn't give any reason." He must have made a mistake in his hurry. Let's go. I didn't expect Su Zimo to be so weak. He died in the Shura battlefield after only 2 days. The disciples of the academy had mocked them just now, and these foreign disciples had seized the opportunity to speak harshly and make sarcastic remarks. Fellow cultivator Yen, we really have to go now. Tianjia cupped his hands and said, Su Zimo of the academy is dead. There's no point in us staying here. I won't see you out. Yen Bingying spat out 2 words with a cold face. Senior brother Su is on the heaven ranking again. Another exclamation came from the crowd. Everyone hurriedly turned their heads to look. Where with? At the back. Why is he at the bottom of the ranking? No matter what, he's still on the heaven ranking. At least he's not dead. Everyone from the academy was relieved. He's not dead? Tianjia Ling Mu and the others frowned. Fairy of 100 Flowers sneered. Even if he's not dead, at least it proves that we were right. Su Zimo of the academy is not good enough. He can only be at the bottom of the heaven ranking at most. Are you guys still leaving? Yen Bingying was a little impatient as she urged him. Of course not. Ling Mu raised his head and said, we'll wait here and see what rank Su Zimo can reach in the end. If he can come back alive, we'll challenge him again. It was not just the Chenkuan Academy. Countless cultivators from the major sects and forces of the divine firmament celestial realm were also paying attention to this seal battle and watching the heaven ranking update. Su Zimo's ranking on the heaven ranking fluctuated greatly, which caused a lot of commotion and speculation. However, even the 6 perfected immortals of the divine firmament palace did not know the specific situation of Su Zimo at the bottom of the lake, so they did not rashly write. Therefore, Su Zimo's information on the heaven ranking did not change at all. Some people had already gone to the Fiery Sun's celestial kingdom to investigate. At the same time, Su Zimo finally reached his destination at the bottom of the lake in the Shura battlefield. Half a bone was exposed in the mud at the bottom of the lake. Su Zimo's eyes lit up. The source of the blood fiend was this half a bone. The bone of the white tiger. Chapter 2507. Su Zimo took a step forward and pulled out the bone. The edges of the bone were rough and jagged. It should be a fragment of the white tiger's bone. Even so, when the bone fragment was fully revealed, it was even taller than his body and suffocated him with a ferocious aura. It was unimaginable how huge the white tiger's body was at its peak and how ferocious it was when it grew such a bone. The bone fragment was left on the battlefield of the Shura. After countless years, the blood malevolence in the bone had yet to dissipate, forming such a lake. Su Zimo reached out and touched the surface of the bone gently. He could feel some slight bumps on the surface of the bone with his fingertips. Su Zimo took a step forward and looked at it. There were mysterious patterns on the surface of the bone that looked like mysterious runes. It was a work of the gods and looked like it was made by nature. Su Zimo channeled his essence chi and surged it into the white bones. All of a sudden, the runes on the surface of the white bone glowed brightly. Immediately after, the runes fell off and surged into Su Zimo's glabella. Su Zimo's essence spirit felt a sharp pain. Immediately after, some strange information appeared in his memory. The secret skill scripture imparted by the White Tiger Saint's soul was originally obscure and difficult to understand. But now, looking at this secret skill, Su Zimo felt enlightened and enlightened. Su Zimo was overjoyed and chose to sit on the ground to cultivate this secret skill. The 4th secret skill of the hell-suppressing cauldron was called the White Tiger Devouring Corpse. It was also the only unparalleled killing move among the 4 secret skills. Among the 4 sacred beasts, the white tiger was located in the west and specialized in killing. Just the name of this secret skill was enough to make one's heart palpitate. According to the secret skill, if one wanted to cultivate the White Tiger Devouring Corpse, they would have to continuously condense their own malevolent aura. The stronger the malevolent aura, the stronger the power of this secret skill. If the malevolent aura could materialize and reach the level of the White Tiger Saint Beast, it would be as though the White Tiger had descended to the world and was extremely murderous. And this lake was the best place to cultivate this secret technique. Without any hesitation, Su Zimo activated the secret technique and chanted the scripture in his heart, drawing the surrounding blood qi into his body. As soon as this blood entered his body, Su Zimo's expression changed greatly. He spat out a mouthful of blood and choked on a mouthful of water. The baleful blood qi in the lake had already solidified and condensed into lake water. Even true immortals would not be able to withstand it and would have to retreat in time. And when Su Zimo absorbed the infernal blood energy into his body, it naturally caused great damage to Qinglian's true body. Fortunately, he cultivated the white tiger sacred beast's inherited secret technique, so he had a certain degree of resistance against the surrounding white tiger blood fiend. Su Zimo's body was washed over by the white tiger's blood aura. The surface of his body broke apart and bloody scars appeared. Even the mouthful of lake water he had just choked on had turned into a terrifying white tiger blood fiend, surging into his organs and exploding with a loud bang. The powerful regeneration powers of Qinglian's true body circulated wildly and healed her internal and external injuries. Not only that, Qinglian's true body seemed to have sensed some sort of danger and her bloodline started circulating on its own, devouring the white tiger blood fiend. The changes in his body shocked Su Zimo greatly. The creation Qinglian was unique in the world and had a powerful bloodline. However, it was still a plant after all. In front of the white tiger sacred beast, even the dragon phoenix had to bow down. Su Zimo initially thought that the creation Qinglian's bloodline would be suppressed as well. However, from the looks of it, the Qinglian's true body did not seem to be afraid at all. She started counterattacking rapidly against the invasion of the white tiger blood fiend. Every single wisp of white tiger blood fiend contained immense power. After all, that power originated from the white tiger bone. As for the bloodline of Qinglian's true body, after devouring the white tiger blood fiend and refining it, her strength was rising rapidly as well. Su Zimo's original intention was to cultivate the fourth secret skill. But now, while cultivating the secret skill, the Qinglian's true body also received a tremendous amount of power and was growing at an unimaginable speed. Of course, this process was a form of destruction and torture for Su Zimo. The Qinglian's true body was being torn apart and repaired continuously. Each time it was repaired, the Qinglian's true body would become even stronger and the speed at which it devoured the white tiger blood fiend would increase. Initially, the Qinglian's true body could not refine too much white tiger blood fiend and could only devour a few wisps. As time passed by, the Qinglian's true body became even stronger and could devour dozens or even thousands of wisps of white tiger blood fiend. The stimulation of the white tiger blood fiend towards the Qinglian's true body instead triggered the Qinglian's bloodline completely. Sensing the changes in the Qinglian's true body, Su Zimo was delighted while enduring the pain. Normally, if he wanted to increase his cultivation level, the Qinglian's true body would need to absorb a large amount of resources. Even if he had enough elemental holy stones, it would take him at least 1,000 years to reach the seventh stage of heaven celestial through normal cultivation. But now, the power of the white tiger blood fiend had replaced the elemental holy stones and was far more effective than absorbing them. At this rate of cultivation, the Qinglian's true body might even be able to break through to the seventh stage of heaven celestial within a month. From a certain point of view, the white tiger blood fiend that Qinglian's true body was refining was not the white tiger blood fiend, but the white tiger bone. To Su Zimo, this opportunity was simply a gift sent to his doorstep. It was a pleasant surprise. This also showed that when one reached the heaven celestial stage, one could not bury oneself in seclusion. One had to go out frequently to gain experience and obtain opportunities. After stepping into the heaven origin stage, Su Zimo's cultivation speed was even faster than when he was in the earth celestial stage. This was because he had obtained great opportunities during several trips out to gain experience. Naturally, no one knew about his situation at the bottom of the lake. Even the 6 true immortals of the Divine Firmament Palace who were at the battlefield in Shura could not detect the bottom of the lake. The 6 of them could only vaguely sense that there were life waves coming from the bottom of the lake, proving that Su Zimo was still alive. They did not know anything else. In a house in the ancient city, Xie Qingqing and the others were resting here. Because of Su Zimo's instructions, they did not leave. However, 3 days had passed, and there was still no news of Su Zimo. The others began to discuss in secret. Although Xie Qingqing looked calm on the surface, she was still worried. Although they also had the heaven ranking forecast, it was not updated in real time. Therefore, they did not know what kind of changes would occur on the heaven ranking forecast. On this day, Xie Qingqing felt more and more uneasy. She gathered Heaven Immortal Yu Ying and the others and said, "Brother Su has not returned for 5 days. Let's split into 4 groups and go out to look for him. Regardless of whether there are clues or not, we'll all gather here in one day." Heaven Immortal Yu Ying frowned and complained, "My lord, this ancient city is too big. There's blood fog everywhere. Looking for a person is like looking for a needle in a haystack. How is it possible?" "Yeah, what if he left the city? It's also possible that he has already left the battlefield in Shura." Xie Qingqing waved her hand and interrupted everyone. She said in a low voice, "Even if it's impossible, we have to go out and look for him. Don't forget, it was because of Brother Su that we were able to arrive here safely." Ha! At this moment, laughter came from outside the house. "Brother Qingqing, you don't have to look anymore. I can tell you where Su Zimo is." Chapter 2508. Outside the courtyard, dozens of heavenly immortals filed in. "Xie Yan." Xie Qingqing frowned slightly. The leader of this group of cultivators was Duke Yen, who was highly regarded by the Flaming Sun Immortal King. Behind him was the reincarnated perfected immortal who was predicted to be number 4 on the heaven ranking, Lai Xian. "You know where Brother Su is?" Xie Qingqing asked in a deep voice. "Of course." A gloating expression flashed past Duke Yan's face as he laughed. "Your brother Su was forced into the blood-malevolent lake by Zhong Feiyu and is already dead." Heavenly Immortal Yu Ying and the others were shocked as they exclaimed. Xie Qingqing clenched her fists instinctively and gritted her teeth. "That's impossible. Brother Su had a teleportation talisman. Even if he couldn't win, he could have escaped from the Shura battlefield. What's impossible about that?" Duke Yen sneered. "Zhong Feiyu personally attacked. How could Su Zimo, someone who is predicted to be number 24 on the heaven ranking, have a chance of escaping? Furthermore, Brother Lai witnessed this personally." Lai Xian raised his head and looked at Duke Yen in front of him. He did not say anything as though he agreed to it. Although Duke Yen had not been present, he had already told Duke Yen everything that had happened. Zhong Feiyu was not the only one who forced Su Zimo into the blood-malevolent lake. Duke Yen knew that, but he said that on purpose. His intention was to divert the blame to Princess Yu Yen and Zhong Feiyu. Lai Xian could tell what Duke Yen was thinking, but he could not expose it. However, he did not want to lie either, which was why he remained silent. "Brother Su is dead?" Xie Qingqing's eyes reddened as she shook her head slightly, still unwilling to believe it. Heavenly Immortal Yu Ying sighed softly. "Zhong Feiyu is a reincarnated perfected immortal and is predicted to be number 3 on the heaven ranking. If he attacked, Su Zimo would indeed not stand a chance." Another person said, "Su Zimo has a deep feud with Zither Immortal Mangyao and Zhong Feiyu is from the same sect as her. It makes sense for him to attack Su Zimo." Duke Yen raised his head slightly. "Qingqing, I'm here to give you a chance." "What do you mean?" Xie Qingqing frowned. Duke Yen said, "Su Zimo, your subordinate, was already killed by Zhong Feiyu. If you want to avenge him, you can only work with me. After all, I have Brother Lai by my side to help me. I can fight against Zhong Feiyu. Naturally, Qingqing, you should stop seizing seals. If you help me obtain the Lingxia seal, you will also have a position under my command in the future." Xie Qingqing was so angry that she laughed. When he mentioned that Su Zimo had died, the gloating expression on Duke Yan's face made him feel disgusted. Now, Prince Yan's condescending tone made him feel even more conflicted. Duke Yan made it sound nice. The two of them would join forces to take revenge for Su Zimo. But in reality, Duke Yan wanted him to submit to him. "As for Brother Su's matter, I will naturally seek justice for him." Xie Qingqing waved her hand and said impatiently, "As for the alliance, There's no need to mention it again. You can leave now." Hearing this, Duke Yan's expression instantly darkened. He said icily, "Xie Qingqing, you really don't know what's good for you." "What did you say?" Xie Qingqing glared at him angrily. Duke Yan sneered, "I'm giving you face by asking you to join forces with me. Otherwise, do you think a lowly servant like you is worthy of joining forces with me?" Those words were extremely grating, and even Lai Xian frowned slightly. Xie Qingqing's blood surged, and she was enraged. When Heaven Immortal Yu Ying saw that the situation was bad, she hurried forward and grabbed Xie Qingqing tightly, whispering, "Duke, calm down. Don't be rash." "But you want to fight me?" Duke Yan raised his brow slightly. "If you dare to touch me, I don't mind crippling you right now and chasing you out of the battlefield of Shura." Xie Qingqing panted slightly, and the rage in her eyes gradually subsided. Only by tolerating what others could not tolerate could one achieve what others could not. That was what his mother said to him before she passed away, and he had always remembered it in his heart. If not for that tolerance, he would not have been able to survive until now. Lai Xian looked at Xie Qingqing deeply and thought to himself, how ambitious does this lad have to be able to endure this humiliation? Be it in terms of talent, bloodline, or status, Duke Yan surpassed Xie Qingqing. However, in Lai Xian's opinion, Xie Qingqing might not be inferior to Duke Yan in the future. In fact, he even had a feeling that this beautiful Duke Yan before him might truly be able to stand out from the other heirs of the royal family one day. Very good. When Duke Yan saw Xie Qingqing lowering her head and not daring to meet his gaze, he nodded with a satisfied expression. He looked at the dozens of heaven immortals behind Xie Qingqing and said, "Your master is unwilling to submit. I'll give you guys a chance now. Either stand over right now or I'll send you guys out of the battlefield of Shura." The dozens of heaven immortals looked at Xie Qingqing instinctively. Xie Qingqing was expressionless and silent. He could already tell that Duke Yan was here to take over his subordinates to replenish the heaven immortals that he had lost earlier. "Duke Yan, I'm sorry." Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was the first to stand out. "A fine bird chooses a fine tree to nest in. Scram." Xie Qingqing cut him off without even looking at him. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was snubbed and shrugged slightly before walking towards Duke Yan. Before she even got close, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying bowed and said, "I've heard a lot about Duke Yan but never had the chance to follow you. Now that I've been recognized by you, I'm Yu Ying and I'm willing to serve you." Good, good, good. Duke Yan laughed out loud. With Heaven Immortal Yu Ying being the first to stand out, 9 more people stood on Duke Yan's side one after another. In the blink of an eye, there were only 6 people left behind Xie Qingqing. Fufu, there are indeed 6 people who don't know what's good for them. Duke Yan chuckled softly. You guys. It was only at this moment that Xie Qingqing turned around and looked at the 6 people beside her. She wanted to say something but hesitated. "Duke, let's go." One of the level 9 heaven immortals among the 6 said, "There's no chance for us to obtain the Spirit Dawn seal." "That's right." Another person said, "Duke, you've saved my life before. I'll definitely not abandon you. However, we'll only be humiliating ourselves if we stay behind." Xie Qingqing hesitated and struggled for a long time before her gaze turned resolute once more. He still remembered what Su Zimo reminded her before she left. There's still more than 20 days before the seal. If anything happens to me during this period of time, don't panic. Don't give up until the very last moment. At that time, Xie Qingqing did not understand what he meant. Now that she thought about it, Su Zimo seemed to have predicted that something would happen. There was a deeper meaning to those words as well. Furthermore, Su Zimo had reminded her twice that she must not give up until the very last moment. At that thought, Xie Qingqing said, "Brothers, thank you for your loyalty and trust. Crush your teleportation talismans and leave this place. As for me, I'll just wait here since I still have more than 20 days left." Peak. Chapter 2509. Of the dozens of people that Xie Qingqing brought in, which one of them had not received his kindness? But now that he was in trouble, only the 6 heaven immortals before him were willing to stay by his side. Duke Yen and the others harbored ill intentions and were eyeing him covetously, ready to strike at any moment. Xie Qingqing did not want to implicate the 6 heaven immortals and put them in danger because of his persistence. He was a duke after all. Even if he stayed here, his life would not be in danger and he would at most suffer some humiliation. However, the 6 heaven immortals might be in danger. Duke, the 6 heaven immortals called out softly. Let's go. Xie Qingqing pretended to be carefree and smiled. Wait for me at the palace after 20 days. Regardless of success or failure, we have to gather and get drunk. All right. The 6 heaven immortals agreed. If they insisted on staying, they would only be attacked by Duke Yen and the others. Furthermore, the 6 heaven immortals did not want to betray Xie Qingqing and their only choice was to leave. Under Xie Qingqing's gaze, the 6 heaven immortals tore their teleportation talismans and left the battlefield of Shura. Duke Yen sneered. Xie Qingqing, what are you still doing here? Are you trying to embarrass yourself? Perhaps he wants to obtain the Spirit Dawn seal with his own strength. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying had just changed his allegiance and immediately changed his attitude, trampling on Xie Qingqing to curry favor with Duke Yen. You guys don't have to care about whether I stay or leave. Xie Qingqing's tone was cold. Duke Yen laughed. My dear brother, you're quite indignant, huh? Yu Ying, go teach him a lesson for me. This, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying hesitated for a moment. But, you don't dare? Or do you miss your old master? Duke Yen turned and asked with narrowed eyes. No. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying reacted quickly and denied it. Although he had some resistance in his heart, he was also clear that this matter could be considered as a proof of his allegiance. That was the only way he could truly gain the trust and respect of Duke Yen. At that thought, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying made up his mind and walked towards Xie Qingqing. How dare you? Xie Qingqing glared at Heaven Immortal Yu Ying with a cold gaze. After all, he was the Duke of the Flaming Sun Celestial Kingdom. Now that he was furious, he was exuding the majesty of the royal family. Although Celestial Immortal Yu Ying's cultivation base was higher than Xie Qingqing's, she had once followed Xie Qingqing, and Xie Qingqing had even saved her life. Now that Xie Qingqing was glaring at him, he felt a little guilty and didn't move. Don't be afraid. Duke Yan's face was full of smiles as he instigated. Just don't beat him to death. If anything happens, I'll take responsibility. Thank you, Duke Yen. Upon hearing this, Celestial Immortal Yu Ying's heart calmed down. Xie Qingqing scolded, Ungrateful dog, I shouldn't have saved you back then. At the mention of that, Heavenly Immortal Yu Ying's face flushed red and she felt extremely embarrassed. Resentment rose in her heart as she raised her hand to slap Xie Qingqing while scolding, Who needs your help? Mind your own business. Before Celestial Immortal Yu Ying's palm could land on Xie Qingqing's face, her wrist was grabbed by another thick and heavy hand, like an iron hoop. Celestial Immortal Moonshadow's arm was completely motionless. Instead, a terrifying heat wave was emitted from the other party's palm, as though it could burn her arm to ashes. Fellow Taoist Lai, turning around, Celestial Immortal Yu Ying could not help but be shocked when she saw that person. The person who stopped Celestial Immortal Yu Ying was Lai Xian, who was beside Duke Yen. Brother Lai, what's the meaning of this? Duke Yen frowned slightly. Lai Xian turned around and said in a deep voice, Xie Qingqing has the bloodline of the Flaming Sun Immortal King after all. If she's bullied by an outsider, it'll be an embarrassment to the royal family. Furthermore, he's alone and won't affect our seizing of the seal. There's no need to kill him. Duke Yen was somewhat displeased. However, Lai Xian was a reincarnated perfected immortal and it wasn't easy for him to invite the latter to stand on his side. Duke Yen had to give Lai Xian some face as well. All right. Duke Yen waved his hand. I'll listen to Brother Lai and not lower myself to your level. Let's go. With that, Duke Yen led the group of cultivators away. Lai Xian released his grip and Celestial Immortal Yu Ying hurriedly retracted his wrist with a pained expression. In that short period of time, his wrist was burned with a brand and he could no longer feel his entire hand. Even though he suffered a huge loss, Celestial Immortal Yu Ying did not dare to complain at all. Enduring the pain, he fled the place dejectedly without even turning back. With his hands behind his back, Lai Xian turned and left. "Thank you." When he arrived at the entrance of the courtyard, Xie Qingqing's voice sounded from behind him. Lai Xian paused and glanced sideways. "Indeed, Su Zimo whom you found has already fallen into the lake." However, at that time, the 6 people in the top 10 of the heaven ranking were all present. To be precise, he fell into the blood-malevolent lake because he fought against the 6 of them alone. When Xie Qingqing heard that, she no longer had any doubts. However, she had not expected that the 6 heaven immortals in the top 10 of the heaven ranking would join forces to deal with Su Zimo. "He's very strong." Lai Xian's tone seemed to contain a hint of admiration and pity. After a moment of silence, he continued, "If I were to fight him alone, the outcome would be hard to predict." After saying that, Lai Xian left the place and disappeared in the blink of an eye. After everyone left, Xie Qingqing sat on the ground dejectedly. Now, he was all alone. He had nothing and was helpless. Even if he could still hold on to the beliefs in his heart, what else could he do in such a situation? Was he still going to participate in the seal-seizing battle 20 days later? He was only a level 7 heaven immortal. How could he compete with the other dukes? A month passed in the blink of an eye. On the last day, the remaining 7 dukes in the battlefield of Shura arrived at the lake in the center of the ancient city with their respective teams, waiting for the final moment to arrive. When the Permitha Bridge arrived, it also meant that the most critical and intense battle of the seal-seizing battle had officially begun. In the sky above the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace also perked up. The next battle would determine the rankings of many cultivators on the heaven-ranking mountain. Shen Hong said softly, "There seems to be another team that hasn't arrived." "It's Xie Qingqing. He's the only one left in his team. He probably gave up," Shen Zhe explained. "Take a guess, who will obtain this Lingxia seal in the end?" Shen Yun did not wait for the others to answer and said first, "I guess it will be Princess Yu Yan. She has Zhong Feiyu's help, so her chances are high." Shen Feng analyzed, "Currently, Duke Yan's team has the most people after swallowing Xie Qingqing's team. There are more than 60 of them. Duke Yan has Lai Xian's help, and his overall strength is above Princess Yu Yan's team. His chances of winning are not small." Shen Yan said, "Actually, the seal-seizing battle does not depend on the overall strength of the team. It depends on which team can ensure that their dukes get the Lingxia seal first. This adds countless variables to the seal-seizing battle. Duke Mingjiong has Song Si's help, Duke Feng has immortal Luo Yang's help, Duke Yu has Yu Hai's help, and there's also the powerful Duke Tian Huang. They all have a chance." Divine Crane, guess who it will be? The 5 of them turned their heads and looked at Divine Crane Fairy, who had been silent all these days. "I don't know." Divine Crane Fairy shook her head slightly and replied absent-mindedly. Her eyes were still fixed on the lake below, as if she was waiting for something. Suddenly, Divine Crane Fairy's expression changed. Chapter 25:10. Look over there. Fairy Divine Crane's spirits were lifted as she pointed at the blood-fiend lake below and exclaimed, "What?" The other 5 perfected immortals turned to look, and their expressions changed slightly. The blood-fiend lake in the center of the ancient city seemed to be attracted by a mysterious force, and it started to spin slowly, forming a huge whirlpool. The 6 perfected immortals focused and looked down. They could see that in the center of the whirlpool, there was a figure sitting at the bottom of the lake. It was Su Zimo. The 6 perfected immortals knew that Su Zimo was not dead, so they were not surprised. What truly shocked the 6 perfected immortals was that through their spirit consciousnesses, not only was Su Zimo unharmed after staying in the blood-malevolent lake for close to a month, his aura was even stronger than before. It seems like he's going to break through? Gosh, what kind of opportunity did he get at the bottom of the lake? In less than 30 days, he has cultivated to this stage. Is he going to break through to level 7? This kid's breakthrough caused such a huge commotion that the entire Bloodfiend Lake was affected. The 6 perfected immortals were in disbelief. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, They would not have believed it. Fairy Divine Crane was the first to come to her senses and accept this reality. She smiled and said softly, "This seal-seizing battle seems to be getting interesting again. You asked me who would take the Lingxia seal. Now, I have a candidate." As soon as she said that, Su Zimo's aura skyrocketed from the bottom of the lake. He had broken through some kind of barrier. Level 7. In less than 30 days, Su Zimo had broken through to the next level. Even with the 6 perfected immortals' knowledge, they were shocked by this speed of cultivation. At this moment, the figure at the bottom of the lake suddenly raised his head, as if he could see through the blood mist and look in the direction of the 6 perfected immortals. After a slight pause, the figure retracted his gaze and continued to adjust his breathing, absorbing the surrounding heaven and earth yuan qi to stabilize his cultivation. The 6 perfected immortals looked at each other in shock. "He looked at us just now?" Shen Hong could not help but ask in disbelief. "Could it be he found us?" The other 5 could not believe it and were equally confused. How was this possible? As true immortal experts, they were hiding in the depths of the blood mist in the battlefield of Shura. They were at the highest point in the sky, far beyond the detection range of a heaven immortal's divine sense. Su Zimo was only a Tier 7 heavenly immortal. How could he sense their location? After a while, Fairy Divine Crane coughed softly and reminded, "Shen Hong, it's time to take out the heaven ranking and change his position." Yes. Shen Hong came to a sudden realization and hurriedly opened the heavenly ranking list. True origin condensed at the tip of her finger, but she did not move. She asked, "What is the ranking now?" 10th place is definitely not suitable. That's right. When he was a rank 6 heavenly immortal, he was already ranked 10th. Now that he's a rank 7 heavenly immortal, don't rank too high either. I suggest that we play it safe and see what he has up his sleeve. Ranked 7th? Number 7 is fine. Let's do that for now. The 6 true immortals discussed for a while, and decided that Su Zimo would be ranked at the bottom of the heaven leaderboard, to the 7th place in the top 10 of the heaven leaderboard, pushing Yu Hai, who was originally ranked 7th, to the 8th place. The commotion from the Blood Fiend Lake attracted the attention of the 7 teams. However, their divine senses were far inferior to that of a true immortal. Naturally, they could not see the bottom of the lake and did not know what was happening inside. "I know." At this moment, a thought flashed across the Duke of Starflame's mind. He said, "This commotion should be a sign that the Permitha Bridge is about to appear." Many cultivators revealed a look of realization. The Duke of Starflame sneered and curled his lips. He said, "You don't have to tell me this." The Duke of Starflame was rebuked, and his face turned pale. Compared to the other 6 teams, he was the weakest. When they arrived at the ancient city, there were only 14 people left. Moreover, there were no top heavenly immortals in the team. There were only 2 rank 9 heavenly immortals who were ranked at the bottom of the heaven leaderboard. Even if the 2 of them joined forces, they were nothing compared to Zhong Feiyu and the rest. The Duke of Starflame chuckled and did not dare to talk back. At this moment, on the isolated island in the middle of the Blood Fiend Lake, a ray of golden light suddenly spread out and slowly moved toward the team. The Permitha Bridge had arrived. "Haha, I guessed it right." The Duke of Starflame laughed and was somewhat pleased with himself. The Permitha Bridge spanned across the Blood Fiend Lake. However, the bridge was rather narrow and could only accommodate 2 to 3 people at a time. It was almost foreseeable that the most intense battle would definitely break out on the Permitha Bridge. Crossing the Permitha Bridge was only the first step. After reaching the isolated island, there would be a tough battle between the various dukes. It was unknown who would be able to obtain the Spirit Dawn seal. There was a loud rumble. The Permitha Bridge was already on the shore. However, the 7 teams were wary of each other and no one dared to act rashly. Many cultivators were tense. Any slight movement could lead to a huge battle. At this moment, a lone figure walked over from afar with firm footsteps. Under everyone's gaze, the figure walked towards the Permitha Bridge. The hundreds of cultivators were stunned. After recognizing the person, A few dukes could not help but curse as they felt that it was extremely ridiculous. Haha. The Duke of Starflame laughed and said, "Xie Qingqing, you're alone and you want to obtain the Spirit Dawn seal? Are you daydreaming?" Chuckles could be heard from the crowd. Everyone knew about what happened to Xie Qingqing. In their eyes, the current Xie Qingqing was extremely pitiful and laughable, like a stubborn stray dog. Nobody made a move. That was because Xie Qingqing was a mere grade 7 heavenly immortal. In their eyes, he posed no threat at all. Even without the help of others, any duke could step forward and trample on him. Xie Qingqing ignored everyone's mockery and gripped his fists tightly, walking towards the Permitha Bridge step by step. He wanted to obtain the Spirit Dawn seal. He wanted to become a duke that ruled over a territory to clear his mother's name and his own. He did not want to give up until the very last moment. Just like that, under everyone's gaze, Xie Qingqing arrived at the edge of the Blood Fiend Lake and was only a step away from the Permitha Bridge. "Kneel!" Heavenly Immortal Yu Ying observed Duke Yan's expression. When she saw that he was displeased, she rushed forward immediately and raised her leg to kick him. Just as Xie Qingqing wanted to resist, countless powerful spirit consciousnesses descended and suppressed him, rendering him immobile. Thump! Xie Qingqing was sent sprawling on the ground by Heavenly Immortal Yu Ying's kick. The pressure of the powerful spirit consciousnesses had yet to dissipate and he could not even stand up. Xie Qingqing's eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the golden bridge before him and the lone island at the end of it. With a resolute gaze, he crawled forward bit by bit. "Xie Qingqing, Duke Yan gave you a chance but you don't know what's good for you. How dare you try to snatch the seal?" Heavenly Immortal Yu Ying took a step forward and stomped on Xie Qingqing's back, harumphing coldly. "Let's see how you're going to step onto the Permitha Bridge under my feet." Yu Ying was once someone by Xie Qingqing's side but now, he was trampling on Xie Qingqing. Everyone gloated and jeered as they watched the show. "You're courting death." Right then, a cold and sinister voice sounded from the Blood Fiend Lake. Chapter 25:11. Who's talking? Yu Ying was stunned. The voice sounded like it came from the Blood Fiend Lake. But how was that possible? How could there be a living person in the Blood Fiend Lake? Immediately after, a figure slowly walked out of the lake. There was not a single drop of water on him. He had black hair and a green robe. He had delicate features, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. "Su Zimo!" Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was shocked and exclaimed. The surrounding cultivators' expressions changed as well. They frowned in disbelief. The news of Su Zimo being forced into the Blood Fiend Lake by Zhong Feiyu had already spread among the crowd. Everyone assumed that Su Zimo was dead. Who would have thought that Su Zimo would walk out of the Blood Fiend Lake alive? Only Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, and a few others were not shocked. Instead, they were happy. Su Zimo was still alive. This meant that they had another chance to snatch the Jade Purity Jade Book from him. "Aren't you already dead?" Heaven Immortal Yu Ying felt a chill run down his spine when he was stared at by Su Zimo. His voice trembled uncontrollably. He had seen Su Zimo's methods with his own eyes. Even the experts on the Heaven Roll could not withstand Su Zimo's attacks. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying felt a strong sense of danger, as if a catastrophe would befall him at any moment. He was also very decisive. He wanted to take out a teleportation talisman and escape from the Shura battlefield. Bang! A figure flashed past. Immediately after, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was sent flying by a huge force. His body suddenly exploded in midair, turning into a cloud of blood mist. This tremendous force blasted his primordial spirit into smithereens. Fast, too fast. Even though Heaven Immortal Yu Ying knew that Su Zimo wanted to kill him, he could not avoid it. A Stage 9 Heaven Immortal was instantly killed by Su Zimo without being able to resist. That powerful divine sense could suppress Xie Qingqing, a Stage 7 Heaven Immortal, but it could not suppress Su Zimo, who was at the same level. Look, he has already broken through to Stage 7 Heaven Immortal. He must have obtained some sort of fortuitous encounter at the bottom of the lake. So, what if he's a 7th level Heavenly Immortal? What can he do? I predict that any one of the top 10 on the heaven leaderboard will be able to teach him a lesson. Many cultivators noticed the changes in Su Zimo's body and started discussing. The more ignorant one was, the more fearless one was. As for the 6 experts who fought against Su Zimo in front of the blood-malevolent lake, they frowned secretly. Although the battle at that time was short, Su Zimo was able to injure Song Su in a 1 versus 6 situation, which showed how terrifying his means were. Now that Su Zimo had broken through to the 7th level of the heavenly immortal realm, his combat strength would definitely rise to another level. Of course, to the 6 heaven immortals, Su Zimo, a tier 7 heaven immortal, was not much of a threat. He was just a little troublesome. Su Zimo helped Xie Qingqing up. "Brother Su, you're still alive." Xie Qingqing was overjoyed and excited. Su Zimo nodded and looked at the Nirvana bridge behind him. "Go to the island and get the seal. With me here, no one can get on this bridge." He said it casually, but there was a domineering aura in it. It was as if he was looking down on everyone present. The 6 experts who were predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven leaderboard were present as well. Su Zimo's words were equivalent to disregarding the 6 heaven immortals. Princess Yu Yan's eyes were filled with disdain as she sneered. "You're just a defeated opponent of Brother Zone. How dare you boast so shamelessly? How arrogant!" Duke Yen could not help but stand out and point at Su Zimo, scolding, "You're just a 7th level heavenly immortal and you dare to guard the Nirvana bridge alone? With an order from me, dozens of heaven immortals under my command will crush you until there's nothing left of you." Su Zimo swept his gaze and saw a few heaven immortals behind Duke Yen who were originally on Xie Qingqing's side. With a thought, he guessed what Xie Qingqing had encountered in the past. "I don't need you to give the order. I'll cripple you first." Before Su Zimo could finish, he released his innate divine power, Six Fangs divine power. The flesh of Qinglian's true body had refined and absorbed countless white tiger malevolent qi. The malevolent qi outside no longer had any effect on him. 6 divine elephant tusks that were as white as jade grew from Su Zimo's back. They emitted a terrifying aura and the power in his body surged. At the same time, Su Zimo's right eye burst forth with an incomparably blinding beam of light that tore through the air. It was his visual technique, Illumination Eye. "Watch out." Lai Xian's expression was grim and his pupils constricted as he reminded Duke Yen loudly. The killing eye technique arrived in the blink of an eye. Lai Xian did not have time to release any other methods and hurriedly conjured his visual technique as well. Boom! Their visual techniques collided with a deafening bang and sparks flew everywhere. Lai Xian's visual technique was similar to Illumination Eye and was also incomparably bright, hovering in his eye sockets like 2 blazing suns. Unfortunately, no matter how strong his visual technique was, it could not match Illumination Eye. The predecessor of Illumination Eye was the visual technique of dragons, the Illumination Dragon Eye. If it was just the Illumination Dragon Eye, it might be evenly matched against Lai Xian's visual technique. However, Su Zimo's right eye contained a mysterious illumination stone. With the illumination stone as the foundation, he could unleash the power of Illumination Eye to its limits. After the 2 visual techniques collided, there was a slight pause. Immediately after, Illumination Eye broke through the obstruction of Lai Xian's visual technique and arrived behind him instantly, in front of Duke Yen. Initially, Illumination Eye was aimed at Duke Yan's glabella. However, there was a slight deviation because of Lai Xian's obstruction. Even so, the light beam from the illuminating eye still entered Duke Yan's chest and exploded with a loud bang. "Release your essence spirit and escape." The moment the 2 visual techniques made contact, Lai Xian had a bad feeling and shouted. With Lai Xian blocking at the front, Duke Yen reacted and his essence spirit flew out of his head hurriedly. The moment he did that, his body was shattered by the beam released by Illumination Eye. A raging fire burned and even his essence spirit was about to be engulfed. Lai Xian hurriedly took out the teleportation talisman and pressed it on Duke Yan's essence spirit, shattering it instantly. Duke Yan's essence spirit was sent out of the battlefield in Shura. Su Zimo's visual technique was way too terrifying. Duke Yan's body was completely crippled and turned into ashes before long without a single drop of essence blood left. Even with Lai Xian's capabilities, he could only protect Duke Yan's essence spirit as much as possible and send it out of danger temporarily. Many cultivators were gathered in the massive square of Flaming Sun Palace. Everyone knew that today was the final day of the seal battle and the Duke of Spirit Dawn County would be decided. Therefore, many cultivators were gathered here to wait. All of a sudden, a beam of light flashed in the square. Immediately after, an essence spirit appeared with a pained expression. It struggled continuously and screamed, "Save me, Duke Yan." Everyone recognized the essence spirit quickly and exclaimed. Although Duke Yan managed to escape from the battlefield in Shura, his body was crippled and his essence spirit was affected by the residual power. His body was scorching hot and shone with a red light. Xie Ling's expression changed as he hurried forward and released his true essence to suppress the fire poison in Duke Yan's essence spirit and resolve the crisis. Xie Ling looked at Duke Yan, whose essence spirit was dim and dispirited, and shook his head gently, sighing internally. Although Duke Yan managed to survive, his essence spirit was severely injured. Even if he could find a suitable body in the future, he would be crippled and disappear from the masses. Chapter 25:12. On the battlefield in Shura. With Duke Yan's withdrawal, no matter how many people were left in his group, he no longer had a chance to obtain the Spirit Dawn seal. Lai Xian was enraged. It was not because Duke Yan had withdrawn from the fight for the seal, but because Su Zimo had crippled Duke Yan right in front of him. That was no different from slapping him in the face in public. All of a sudden, Lai Xian's expression changed starkly. Not good. Before he could retaliate against Su Zimo had already charged over. Although he did not turn back, Lai Xian could still sense a suffocating malevolent aura surging over. It was as though it was not a human that was charging over, but a savage, ferocious beast that ate humans. Lai Xian had just saved Duke Yan and was slightly distracted, allowing Su Zimo to seize the opportunity to close in. He did not have time to release any divine powers or weapons. At this distance, the only way to resolve the crisis and turn the tables was to release secret skills instantaneously. Lai Xian did not dare to release teleportation. Although teleportation could allow him to escape from his original spot, it was a supreme divine power after all that had to be released. During the process, it was easy to be interrupted. He was already at a disadvantage to begin with. If he was interrupted by Su Zimo, there was a high chance that his life would be in danger. In a flash, Lai Xian made a judgment and channeled his blood qi to its limits. His bloodline phenomenon appeared vaguely as he released a sound domain's secret skill. Roar! However, at the same time, Su Zimo's sound domain's secret skill rang in his ears. The dragon roar that was filled with endless might burst forth once more, reverberating through the world and charging into the clouds. It could be said that Lai Xian's reaction was extremely fast and he made the right choice. However, things were different now. More than 20 days ago, Su Zimo released the Dragon Roar secret skill at the realm of a rank 6 heavenly immortal without the support of Six Fang's divine power. But now that Su Zimo had broken through to become a rank 7 heavenly immortal, the power of the Dragon Roar secret skill had almost doubled. The two of them were extremely close. Behind Lai Xian and the 60-odd heavenly immortals under Duke Yan were the first to bear the brunt and suffered the greatest impact. Exclamation point! Lai Xian spat out a large mouthful of blood. His head buzzed and his expression was sluggish. His ears hurt and blood seeped out. The blood qi within his body surged, and before his bloodline phenomenon was fully formed, it was nearly scattered by Su Zimo's dragon roar and was on the brink of collapse. Lai Xian was ranked 4th on the heaven ranking, a reincarnated true immortal of the Flaming Sun Immortal Empire. His fleshly body and bloodline were extremely powerful, and he had almost no weaknesses. Even he couldn't endure it, let alone the 60-plus celestial immortals behind him. The heads of the heaven immortals in the first few rows exploded like watermelons. Their primordial spirits were destroyed. The stage 9 heavenly immortals behind him were also swaying, bleeding from their 7 orifices. Their eyes were glazed over as they died. Plop, plop. More than 60 celestial immortals fell to the ground in rows. Those who were further away didn't have any injuries on their bodies, but they looked dazed. Their sea of consciousness had been shattered, and their primordial spirits had dissipated. Duke Yan's army was completely wiped out. Those people died in the battlefield of Shura before they could even release their teleportation talismans. As for Su Zimo, he released his dragon roar and did not even look at those people. Like an anaconda, he coiled around Lai Xian's body and exerted strength. Boom! Lai Xian's 9 sons hovering bloodline phenomenon collapsed before he could release it. Crackle! The sound of bones cracking could be heard from within Lai Xian's body. His eyes bulged and were bloodshot. His face was purplish and it was as though he was about to explode from being squeezed by Su Zimo. Brother Su, hold on. Right then, Xie Qingqing snapped out of her stupor and shouted hurriedly. Su Zimo's expression changed and he did not continue exerting strength. Instead, he recovered and reached out, grabbing the top of Lai Xian's head and lifting him up, striding towards Xie Qingqing. Lai Xian was predicted to be number 4 on the heaven ranking. Now that he was grabbed by Su Zimo, his entire body went limp and he could not resist at all. Su Zimo pressed his palm on the top of his head and sealed his essence spirit. As long as he made any strange movements, Su Zimo's palm would be able to kill him. The entire process happened way too quickly. It was only at this moment that the surrounding cultivators snapped out of their daze and their expressions changed. The crowd was horrified and retreated instinctively, wanting to distance themselves from Su Zimo. Nobody expected Su Zimo to be so domineering as to take the initiative to attack Duke Yan and Lai Xian in front of everyone. What was even more unexpected was that Duke Yan, who was arrogant and domineering earlier on, was crippled instantly and fled the Shura. His team was completely annihilated. Even Lai Xian, who was predicted to be number 4 on the heaven ranking and was a reincarnated perfected immortal, was suppressed by Su Zimo and captured alive in melee combat. The entire process took merely a few breaths. Everyone knew that it was easy to defeat someone of the same cultivation realm. However, it was extremely difficult to capture someone alive unless one's strength was superior. Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, and the other experts on the heaven ranking had different expressions. They did not stand by idly on purpose. It was just that none of them expected Lai Xian to be defeated so quickly. By the time they reacted, the battle was already over. Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, Yu Hai and Xie Tianhuang exchanged glances. Although they did not say anything, they had a tacit understanding. Su Zimo had given them way too much pressure earlier on. If they were to fight again, the 5 of them would definitely have to join forces. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo brought Lai Xian before Xie Qingqing and asked, "Why? Brother Xie, are you planning to deal with him personally?" Xie Qingqing looked at the dispirited Lai Xian and shook his head slightly, hesitating to speak with a troubled expression. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "I would like to ask Brother Su to spare him this once." Su Zimo raised his eyebrows slightly. Xie Qingqing hurriedly explained, "Before this, Duke Yan brought people to humiliate me. He helped me before Xie Qingqing was very clear about kindness and hatred. He owed Lai Xian a favor. In his opinion, Lai Xian's crime did not warrant death." "All right." Su Zimo nodded. Since Lai Xian had helped Xie Qingqing before, there was no harm in letting him go. Su Zimo was about to release Lai Xian when Xie Qingqing hurriedly waved his hand to stop him. Xie Qingqing looked at Lai Xian and said solemnly, "Brother Lai Xian, I can let you go, but you have to promise me that you will leave Shura immediately and not attack Brother Su again. You are not allowed to be enemies with Brother Su from now on." Although he wanted Su Zimo to let Lai Xian go, he did not want to give Su Zimo another strong enemy in Shura because of this action. Lai Xian clenched his teeth, his eyes burning with anger. He pursed his lips and did not say a word. Of course he did not want to die, but he did not want to surrender either. Also, he had just been defeated, and he was not willing to accept it at all. In his opinion, Su Zimo had suppressed him completely because he was distracted while saving Duke Yen, which led to a series of defeats later. He still had a lot of tricks and trump cards that he had not used yet. At this time, Su Zimo seemed to see through Lai Xian's thoughts and suddenly asked, "Lai Xian, are you not willing to accept it?" Lai Xian clenched his fists and still refused to speak. Haha. At this time, Su Zimo looked up and laughed loudly. Lai Xian, so what if I let you go? If I can suppress you once, I can suppress you a second time. Chapter 25:13. Everyone at the scene was shocked and their expressions were aghast. These words could be said to be filled with lofty sentiments and shocking the heavens. Even the 6 true immortals of the divine firmament palace who were above the blood mist could not help but exclaim in admiration. This kid is so bold. There are Zhong Feiyu and the other 5 experts who are predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven leaderboard. There are hundreds of top heaven immortals. Surrounded by so many enemies, this kid restrained a strong enemy like Lai Xian and even dared to let him go. Who can match such boldness? Fairy Divine Crane's beautiful eyes were full of splendor. She could not help but say, "In a while, we must write this sentence on the heaven leaderboard." Of course. You really dare to let me go? Lai Xian finally spoke, his face full of disbelief. In all fairness, even if he was in Su Zimo's position, he would not let him go. This was no different from letting a tiger return to the mountain. Don't say I didn't warn you. Lai Xian gritted his teeth. With my physical body and bloodline, it won't take long to recover my combat strength. Before Lai Xian could finish, Su Zimo threw Lai Xian back to the opposite side. Lai Xian looked at Su Zimo with a complicated expression. Taking a deep breath of air, he took out a bunch of elixirs from his storage bag and swallowed them, beginning to recuperate and heal his injuries. Su Zimo looked at Xie Qingqing and said indifferently, "Don't worry and go get the Lingxia seal. With me here, no one will be able to pass." It was almost the same sentence. Just now, everyone felt that it was extremely ridiculous and arrogant. But now, everyone could hear a strong and unshakable confidence in these words. Xie Qingqing was still a little hesitant. "With you here, I can't do anything." Su Zimo nodded slightly and gave Xie Qingqing a reassuring look. "Okay." Xie Qingqing did not hesitate anymore. She turned and walked toward the island at the end of the Permitha Bridge. "Don't let him pass. Do it." Duke Mingjiong hurriedly urged. Princess Yuyen, Duke Feng, and the others were also a little anxious and hurriedly gave the order. In reality, there were 5 people who acted even faster than the regional duke's orders. Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, Luo Yang Tianxian, Yu Hai, and Xie Tianhuang, the 5 of them were predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven leaderboard. Without saying a word, they split into 5 different directions and charged toward Su Zimo. At this time, Su Zimo had just said goodbye to Xie Qingqing. His back was facing the crowd, and he did not turn around. This scene was extremely similar to when Su Zimo had attacked Lai Xian. Su Zimo didn't turn around, but he had already sensed the danger. His expression did not change, but the killing intent in his eyes was almost tangible. His hand formed a spell that he had never released before. The Blood Fiend Lake seemed to be attracted by some kind of powerful force, and the endless Blood Fiend Lake quickly condensed. A terrifying aura descended upon the battlefield. Zhong Feiyu and the other 4 felt a chill in their hearts, and their expressions turned serious. Under this aura, their minds began to tremble uncontrollably, as if something extremely terrifying was about to happen. Suddenly, accompanied by an earth-shattering tiger roar, a huge white demonic tiger suddenly appeared in the west of Song Su. It was emitting a powerful killing intent. The white tiger's sacred beast had arrived. When the white tiger's sacred beast appeared, everyone present felt a pressure that came from the depths of their bloodline and soul, and they all trembled in fear. The white tiger's sacred beast's eyes were red. It locked onto Song Su, who was in front of it, and suddenly pounced toward him. Along with the tiger's roar, the 5 perfected immortals quickly released their own sound domain's secret techniques to resist the white tiger's sacred beast. However, the white tiger's sacred beast appeared suddenly, and its aura was locked onto Song Su. It did not give him any chance to escape. Song Su still wanted to resist, and in the blink of an eye he released a series of secret techniques. Unfortunately, none of them could stop the white tiger's sacred beast from pouncing. The white tiger's sacred beast opened its bloody mouth and swallowed Song Su. Blood spurted out, and the killing intent entered Song Su's body, destroying his vitality. This scene was extremely shocking. In the eyes of countless cultivators, a white tiger suddenly appeared in the west and held Song Su in its mouth. Song Su's body was covered in blood, and he was motionless. His eyes were wide open, and they were filled with horror. There was no sign of life in his body. Song Su was dead. The white tiger's sacred beast held Song Su's body in its mouth and stood in the air, exuding a shocking killing intent. It was as if it was the god of slaughter between heaven and earth. Although Song Su was dead, he still took out the teleportation talisman from his storage bag and crushed it before he died. Unfortunately, it was all too late. Song Su's body was wrapped in a ray of light, and he left the battlefield in Shura. This was the fourth secret technique of the prison's suppressing cauldron, the white tiger's sacred beast. In fact, although the power of the white tiger's sacred beast was terrifying, it was not at the level where it could kill Song Su, who was predicted to be the fifth on the heaven list, in one move. Song Su was not that weak. However, because this was the battlefield in Shura, the killing intent was everywhere. Su Zimo's position was at the edge of the blood lake. Therefore, when the white tiger's sacred beast was formed, it absorbed a large amount of the killing intent in the lake, and it was almost materialized. One must know that even a true immortal would not be able to withstand such killing intent and would have to avoid it. The reason why Su Zimo was able to survive in the blood-malevolent lake was because he relied on the green lotus true body and cultivated the white tiger corpse devouring secret skill. Although Song Su's methods were strong and he had many trump cards, he could not withstand the impact of the white tiger's sacred beast. Moreover, the white tiger's sacred beast was released in the form of a killing technique. After this secret technique was released, the scene instantly fell into a deathly silence. Not a single sound could be heard. All the cultivators who wanted to attack Su Zimo earlier on were frozen on the spot, still unable to recover from the shock of what had just happened. Xie Qingqing did not take a few steps. She was still worried and subconsciously turned back to look. At this moment, she saw a white tiger coming from the west and killing Song Su instantly. Only now did Xie Qingqing truly feel at ease. She faintly realized that he might really be the final victor. In the square of the Flaming Sun Palace, many of the cultivators gathered here did not know what happened in the Shura battlefield. They were only guessing based on the real-time prediction of the Heaven leaderboard. I didn't expect Duke Yan to be almost crippled even with Lai Xian's protection. It must be Zhong Feiyu. Only he has the ability to do so. Just as the crowd was discussing, a ray of light flashed in the square again. Following that, a bloody corpse fell from the sky and lay motionless on the ground. There was no sign of life in the body. It was already dead. Which unlucky guy got killed with a teleportation jade talisman? With this level of skill, you still want to participate in the Shura battlefield? Why don't you join us in the fun outside? The crowd chuckled. Someone frowned and said, the corpse seems to have a token of the executioner's guard hanging on his waist. Executioner's guard? Someone stepped forward and kicked the corpse, turning it over. Seeing the corpse's face, the person was shocked and took a few steps back. The other cultivators also sucked in a breath of cold air. The fifth on the Heaven leaderboard, the executioner's guard Song Su. Song Su is dead. What happened in the Shura battlefield? Chapter 25:14. In the sky above the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals of the Divine Firmament Palace were stunned. Divine Crane Fairy had already thought highly of Su Zimo and predicted that this battle would be very intense. However, she did not expect that Song Su would be killed by Su Zimo in one move before he could even reach them. Song Su was not a small fry. He was the first executioner of the Divine Firmament Palace and was predicted to be 5th on the Heaven leaderboard. It might be possible to defeat an expert of this level if they were of the same level. However, it would be extremely difficult to kill him. Moreover, it was an instant kill. Back then, in the battle between Qin Gu and Zhong Feiyu, the second on the heaven leaderboard, Qin Gu was slightly better, but he could not kill Zhong Feiyu. Song Su had a teleportation talisman that could allow him to leave the battlefield in Shura at any time, but he did not have the time to use it. This, Shenhong calmed herself down and analyzed in a low voice. This Su Zimo is too smart. The reason why his secret technique was so terrifying was because he used the power of the Blood Lake. Divine Cloud said, after he appeared, he took control of the situation. Not only did he capture Lai Xuani, but he also took advantage of the environment to kill Song Su. Song Su's death is a wake-up call for everyone here, Divine Cloud said. If anyone sees that the situation is not good, they will immediately crush their teleportation talismans and escape. In fact, the situation below was just as the 6 perfected immortals had expected. The cultivators who were ready to use their Dharma treasures all took out their teleportation talismans from their storage bags and held them in their palms, looking alert. There was a short pause on the battlefield because of Song Su's death. Everyone, including Zhong Feiyu, Yu Hai, Luo Yang Tianxian, and Xie Tianhuang, froze. They were shocked and shocked. Confusion flashed through the minds of the 4 people subconsciously. If that fiendish white tiger had pounced on them, who would have been able to withstand it? No one could give an answer. Even Zhong Feiyu could not guarantee that he could escape unscathed. Thinking of this, the 4 of them felt a lingering fear. Song Su had died for the 4 of them. Of course, with their experience, they could quickly tell that Su Zimo's secret skill was based on the blood chi in the Shura battlefield. Moreover, this kind of unparalleled killing secret technique could not be used continuously. Therefore, the 4 of them did not retreat. But just as the 4 of them were stunned, Su Zimo attacked again. Among the 4, Zhong Feiyu was the strongest. If he couldn't defeat Zhong Feiyu in a short period of time, he would be surrounded by the 4 of them. Therefore, Su Zimo used the True Dragon's 9 flashes and instantly appeared in front of Luo Yang Tianxian. He had no intention of holding back at all. He raised his hand and unleashed a peerless technique, Fleeting Brilliance. Call the wind and summon the rain. Celestial Immortal Luo Yang also released a peerless divine ability, but he could still feel a strong sense of danger. Not good. Celestial Immortal Luo Yang was aghast. He had heard of how terrifying Su Zimo's peerless divine ability was, but he had never experienced it before. He could never understand the powerlessness of time. Even Lai Xian had to use many divine abilities and secret skills, including the 9 suns in the sky, to escape unscathed. In a flash, Celestial Immortal Luo Yang's eyes flashed with decisiveness. He crushed the teleportation talisman in his hand and chose to escape from the Shura battlefield. It was not that he was weak, but that he had no other choice. With his means, he could release many divine abilities and secret skills, including the bloodline anomaly. He could definitely resolve the danger of Fleeting Brilliance. However, Su Zimo was already close to him. He chose to stay on the battlefield and resolve Fleeting Brilliance, which meant that he would have to face Su Zimo's close combat attacks. He had seen Su Zimo's close combat power. If even Song Su and Lai Xian could not withstand it, he would not stand a chance. Moreover, after resolving Fleeting Brilliance, he would be at his weakest. If Su Zimo closed in on him, he might not even have the chance to tear the teleportation talisman. There was a flash of light. Celestial Immortal Luo Yang disappeared from the Shura battlefield and returned to the square of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom. Although he had escaped, Fleeting Brilliance's divine abilities and power were still there. He could clearly feel his lifespan depleting at a terrifying speed. Celestial Immortal Luo Yang's eyes widened as he activated his bloodline to the extreme. His body rumbled and released the bloodline anomaly. At the same time, he released many divine abilities and secret skills and finally expelled the power of time from his body. Even so, his lifespan had been completely reduced by 100,000 years. 100,000 years of lifespan in an instant. A celestial immortal's lifespan was 300,000 years. He was originally 190,000 years old and was at his peak. His vitality was strong, and his lungs were filled with energy. Now, his lifespan had been reduced by 100,000 years. He was 290,000 years old, and his hair was white and his face was full of wrinkles. His vitality was so weak that even his bloodline anomaly could not support it. Celestial immortal Luo Yang grabbed his white hair. His eyes were wide open, and his face was contorted as he let out a hysterical cry. Su Zimo, you're too ruthless. Celestial immortal Luo Yang grit his teeth and spat out a few words, trembling in anger. Su Zimo's attack earlier on was way too domineering and did not leave him any way out at all. If he had stayed on the battlefield in Shura and released his divine abilities, secret skills and bloodline anomaly to resist fleeting brilliance, he would have been killed by Su Zimo in melee combat. Even if he chose to leave the battlefield decisively, he would not be able to escape the severe injuries of fleeting brilliance. On the battlefield in Shura, many cultivators were dumbfounded when they saw celestial immortal Luo Yang choose to escape after Su Zimo released a supreme divine ability. In fact, they even found it ridiculous. No matter how strong Su Zimo was, there was no need for him to be that scared, right? Su Zimo was the only one who raised his brow slightly and nodded. As expected of the number 8 on the heaven ranking. You do have some skills. Thankfully, celestial immortal Luo Yang escaped quickly. If he was slower, celestial immortal Luo Yang would definitely be dead by the time he released his melee combat technique. Su Zimo was sincerely praising celestial immortal Luo Yang. However, his words sounded like great mockery to the cultivators present. Many cultivators even secretly despised celestial immortal Luo Yang for being such a coward. Even the number 8 on the heaven ranking was nothing compared to him. Su Zimo forced celestial immortal Luo Yang to retreat with a supreme divine ability. Without stopping, he turned around and charged towards Yu Hai, who was the closest to him. On the other side, sword lights flashed. Zhong Feiyu attacked. The flying fish sword, which was as thin as a cicada's wing, arrived in an instant. Xie Tianhuang narrowed her eyes slightly. Instead of joining the battle, she turned around and charged towards the Permitha Bridge. His plan was perfect. Right now, Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai were working together to hold back Su Zimo. He could make use of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to charge onto the Permitha Bridge. By then, on the isolated island, it would be a battle between him and Xie Qingqing. And Xie Qingqing was no match for him at all. As long as he could suppress Xie Qingqing, Su Zimo would not be a threat to him and he would be able to successfully obtain the Lingxia seal. End of chapter. Chapter 25:15. It had to be said that the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix's judgment of the situation was extremely accurate. The opportunity before his eyes was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that was fleeting. Although he did not have any experts who were predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven roll, he had used Zhong Feiyu and the others to create an almost perfect opportunity for himself. Even the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace, who were watching the battle from the sky, could not help but praise him for his cleverness. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix's move could allow him to avoid a direct battle and maximize his advantage. Unfortunately, his opponent this time was Su Zimo. As soon as he made a move, Su Zimo sensed his intention. As he rushed toward Yu Hai, a jade book flew out from between his eyebrows. The jade book emitted a green glow. In the blink of an eye, it formed an avatar that looked exactly like him and rushed toward the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix. The primeval body from the pure jade book. Su Zimo's Qinglian real body was fighting against Yu Hai and Zhong Feiyu. The primeval body was blocking the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix. Just as the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix reached the Permitha Bridge, the primeval body arrived first. He naturally recognized that this was an avatar formed by Su Zimo using the pure jade book. Su Zimo's purpose was to hold him back. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix sneered. He held the red Heavenly Phoenix saber with both hands and slashed it towards Su Zimo's primeval body. You want to stop me with just an avatar? You must be dreaming. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix shouted. His chi and blood surged, emitting waves of color. He pushed his strength to the limit. In fact, the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix was right. The primeval body was formed by the pure jade book. Although it was powerful, it did not have a real primordial spirit. It could defeat ordinary cultivators of the same level, but it stood no chance against a top expert like the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix. Even if it transformed into the form of the forbidden dragon phoenix, it would be useless. Suddenly, just as the Heavenly Phoenix saber was about to strike, the primeval body in front of him suddenly swayed slightly. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix's vision blurred for a moment. Something seemed to have happened in front of his eyes, but everything seemed normal. The doppelganger of Su Zimo in front of him still had black hair and a green robe, with delicate features. On the other side, Yu Hai and Zhong Feiyu teamed up and unleashed the most powerful attack they had ever unleashed. They didn't hold back at all, and even unleashed their bloodline anomalies. Like a storm, they bombarded Su Zimo. Under such an attack, Su Zimo's figure seemed so frail, like a small boat in a stormy sea. Bang! Su Zimo's body exploded. He died just like that? Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai didn't believe it at all. What's more, Su Zimo's body exploded, but no blood flowed out. This is a clone. Zhong Feiyu immediately thought of something. He turned around abruptly and looked in the direction of the Heavenly Phoenix Commandery Prince. "Be careful," he shouted. Upon hearing Zhong Feiyu's warning, a mocking look flashed through the eyes of the primeval body in front of the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix, and his lips curled. When he saw that change in expression, the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix's pupils constricted violently, and he suddenly felt a bone-chilling chill. The Su Zimo before him was not a clone, but his real body. Su Zimo's eyes shone brightly. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed the Heavenly Phoenix saber that was slashing down. He took a step forward, clenched his fist into a seal, and smashed down. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix hurriedly raised his arm. Bang! The seal smashed down as though it was leather. Immediately after, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix felt a sharp pain in his arm. It was broken by Su Zimo's punch. Su Zimo took another step forward and slammed down with another palm strike. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix retreated and raised his head to dodge. Sniff. The palm strike landed on his chest. His heart protection mirror shattered. His chest caved in deeply as well, revealing a huge crater with the imprint of a palm. Even the armor on his body could not withstand Su Zimo's strength. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix's Heavenly Phoenix bloodline was suppressed by the white tiger blood malevolence and could not release his bloodline phenomenon. In close combat, Su Zimo crushed him effortlessly with a crushing momentum. Left with no choice, the severely injured Duke of Heavenly Phoenix could only give up on the Heavenly Phoenix saber and the spiritual dawn seal. Filled with indignation and resentment, he tore apart the teleportation talisman and fled the battlefield in the Shura. He truly did not dare to hesitate at all. The scene of Song Su's death earlier on was too deep. Duke Yan's physical body was also destroyed, and it was unknown whether heavenly immortal Luo Yang was still alive. The person before him looked like a gentle and refined scholar. However, when he fought, he was decisive and had no scruples. Who knew if he would kill him when he was enraged? Su Zimo stood at the end of the Nirvana bridge and casually threw away the Heavenly Phoenix saber. With a thought, the Jade Purity Jade Scroll returned to his sea of consciousness. "I've said that no one can pass with me guarding here." Su Zimo's tone was indifferent. Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai's expressions were extremely ugly. The 5 experts who were predicted to be in the top 10 of the Heaven leaderboard had joined forces. In the blink of an eye, only the 2 of them were left. Moreover, in front of everyone, they and the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix were toyed with by Su Zimo. Their joint forces were completely destroyed. High up in the sky, Fairy Shuncrane clapped her hands and praised, using the primeval body with form displacement. Not only did he avoid the attacks of Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai, but he also took the opportunity to severely injure Xie Tianhuang. Impressive. This move is indeed brilliant. Shen Zhe shook his head slightly and said, "This guy has too much control over the situation. No one can escape from his calculations." After all, He's from the Qiankuan Academy. I heard that during the Celestial Sect selection, this guy was hunted down by the Dajin Celestial Nation. He won first place in the selection and had the chance to join any of the 4 major celestial sects. However, the other 3 celestial sects were wary of him and did not accept him. Instead, the Qiankuan Academy picked up a treasure. On the battlefield, Lai Xian, who had been recuperating at the side, had already recovered from his injuries. He stood up, full of fighting spirit. He had seen what had happened just now. Seeing that the situation was not good, Princess Yuan could not help but urge, "Brother Zong, hurry up and chase this guy away. Xie Qingqing is about to reach the island." Su Zimo was blocking the way. Even Xie Tianhuang could not get past him. How could they, the dukes, dare to act rashly? Zong Feiyu looked at Lai Xian and said, "Brother Lai, my flying fish sword is greatly suppressed here. I can't use my peak combat power." Zong Feiyu did not say it directly, but Lai Xian understood what he meant. Zong Feiyu was inviting him to come forward so that the 3 of them could work together to deal with Su Zimo. Lai Xian shook his head slightly and said, "I will naturally compete with Su Zimo, but I will not work with the 2 of you." Su Zimo had just let him go. Even if he was unwilling to be suppressed and captured alive, he was too embarrassed to work with others. This kind of behavior was no different from a despicable person. He had to rely on his own strength to regain his face. "Ha!" Hearing Lai Xian's words, Su Zimo laughed and nodded with satisfaction. "Lai Xian, you're not bad. When I'm free, I'll suppress you and let you go again." Hearing this, Lai Xian was so angry that he felt dizzy. His body shook slightly, and the blood that had just calmed down started to boil again. The newly healed wounds almost burst open. Chapter 25:16. In the square of the Flaming Sun Palace. Many cultivators looked at Luo Yang Celestial, who had just come out and was already in his twilight years. They were shocked and dumbfounded. I didn't expect Luo Yang Celestial, who is predicted to be 8th on the heaven list, to be in such a miserable state. Compared to Song Su, he's lucky. After all, he's still alive. Look at him. He's already in his twilight years. It's impossible for him to be on the heaven list, let alone be ranked 8th. After a short moment of silence, the crowd began to discuss. Some people began to point at him and whisper. Luo Yang Celestial's old face was gloomy. The words around him were like sharp knives that stabbed into his heart. His life was ruined just like that. Ruined by a person who ascended from the lower world. What was more ironic was that this person was so weak a few thousand years ago. He didn't even look at this person in the eye. At this moment, another ray of light flashed in the sky above the square. Then, a figure appeared, coughing up blood. He staggered and fell to the ground. He clutched his sunken chest and his face was pale. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix. A cry of surprise came from the crowd. The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix was a popular candidate for the seal this time. Although the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix didn't have any powerful helpers, he was predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven list. If he could really get to the island, he would have the biggest advantage against the other dukes. No one expected that the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix would be the first to be eliminated among the remaining dukes. Even Xie Ling frowned. He was surprised. Isn't this battle too tragic? Indeed. This is just the beginning. 3 of the top 10 dukes on the heaven list have already been eliminated. 1 is dead, 1 is at the end of his life, and 1 is severely injured. It must be Zong Feiyu. Other than him, no one else has such powerful combat strength. It should be him. Although Brother Lai Xian has such combat strength, he wouldn't be so ruthless against the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix. The crowd was discussing. Xie Ling stepped forward and took out a few spiritual pills. He gave them to the Duke of Heavenly Phoenix and asked with a frown, "What's the situation inside? Did Zong Feiyu do it?" "No." The Duke of Heavenly Phoenix panted slightly. His face was pale as he replied unhappily. "Not Zong Feiyu?" Xie Ling was a little confused. After pondering for a while, an idea flashed through his mind. He suddenly recalled that there seemed to be a person on the prediction heaven list who was proficient in an exceptional ability that allowed time to pass. Could it be? Xie Ling's expression changed slightly, revealing a look of disbelief. Shura battlefield in front of the Blood Lake. The commandery prince of Mingjiong was furious after losing Song Su. He could no longer hold back and said in a deep voice, "In my opinion, we should join forces and suppress this person first." "Exactly," Princess Yuyan said. "With this person blocking the bridgehead, none of us can go over. We can only watch Xie Qingqing take away the Lingxia seal." "Alright." Duke Yu also stepped forward and agreed. "Let's join forces and suppress this person first." The Duke of Starflame quickly said, "That's right. It doesn't matter who gets the Spirit Dawn seal. We can't let that be asterisk T Xie Qingqing get it, right?" Su Zimo looked at the hundreds of elite heaven immortals opposite him and sneered. "A bunch of useless people. Even if you join forces, you are nothing to me." This sentence was like a slap to the faces of the crowd. Almost all of the heaven immortals present were stage 9 heaven immortals who could reach the ancient city. There were also some elites on the prediction heaven list, including Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai. And now, Su Zimo's words were equivalent to scolding everyone. "Arrogant bastard. He's too arrogant. Everyone, let's attack together and teach him an unforgettable lesson." Many of the cultivators were agitated. Without waiting for the orders of the commandery princes, they had already attacked one after another, exploding with divine powers and secret techniques. These divine powers and secret techniques were like countless torrential rivers, surging in one direction and converging into a stormy sea. Streaks of heaven-grade Dharma treasures turned into countless divine lights in midair, intertwining into an airtight net and enveloping Su Zimo. 3 heads and 6 arms. Facing the attacks of hundreds of cultivators, Su Zimo did not retreat at all. He guarded the Prometha bridge alone and unleashed his ultimate divine powers. 2 more heads and 4 more arms grew from his body. One of his hands held the Tri-Jade Rui Scepter, the other held the Tai Horsetail Whisk, and the last held the 7-tailed Phoenix Feather Fan. The 3 hands that were free-formed divine powers and Dharma seals. He stood on the spot and spun rapidly. In midair, the Tri-Jade Rui Scepter turned into a stream of light and collided with the Dharma treasures that were intertwined, creating a huge hole in the net. These Dharma treasures collided with the Tri-Jade Rui Scepter and were instantly swept away. In the blink of an eye, the entire net was shattered by the Tri-Jade Rui Scepter. Even if some heaven-grade Dharma treasures fell, they were casually swatted away by Qinglian's real body. Su Zimo conjured the Spirit Turtle Shield and released the one heavenly true water at the same time. It enveloped the Spirit Turtle Shield, increasing the defensive power of the innate divine powers and allowing it to defend against the impact of the many divine powers and secret skills. At the same time, Su Zimo channeled a secret skill and released the Mystic Spirit Big Dipper diagram, causing his strength to rise once more. A gigantic star domain appeared above his head and billions of stars shone with endless starlight that surged into his body. Even with hundreds of top-tier heaven immortals attacking at the same time, they could not do anything to Su Zimo. In fact, they could not even make him take a single step back. "I'll let you guys witness my capabilities as well." After blocking the first wave of attacks, Su Zimo's eyes shone brightly and he clenched his sword fingers. A shocking killing intent burst forth from his body and surged into the clouds, shocking the 9 underworlds. The heavenly slaying and earthly slaying were released at the same time. The next moment, the earth quaked and the skies collapsed. Billions of heaven-slaying sword chi exploded in the crowd opposite him. In the sky, the stars were in a mess. Countless sword chi condensed into a sword chi divine dragon and swooped down. Everywhere it passed, blood was stained and broken limbs flew everywhere. The ground under the feet of the Duke of Starflame suddenly cracked open and a sword chi soaring serpent emerged. In a hurry he jumped and dodged. Splat. Even so, the soaring serpent still bit off more than half of his body. Blood was dripping and his internal organs spilled out. The stench of blood filled the air. The Duke of Starflame was scared out of his wits. He did not dare to stay in the same spot and immediately released a teleportation talisman and left the battlefield in Shura. The battlefield was in chaos because of the heavenly slaying and earthly slaying. During this period, rays of light flashed. Some people could not hold on and chose to leave the battlefield in Shura. However, Su Zimo's counterattack did not stop there. He changed his hand seals again and activated his primordial spirit. Suddenly, 4 different colored flames appeared beside him. Nanming Li Fire, Immortal Dao Fire, Fiend Dao Fire, and Buddhist Dao Fire. The 4 flames quickly merged together and transformed into a gigantic fireball. It exuded an extremely high temperature as if it could melt everything in the world. Lai Xian, who was extremely skilled in the Tao of Fire, could naturally feel the terrifying power contained in the fireball. However, this power was not enough to threaten him. At this moment, Su Zimo threw the fireball into the crowd. At the same time, another spirit sense flame burst out from his sea of consciousness and entered this fireball. Lai Xian's expression changed drastically when he saw this. End of chapter. Chapter 25:17. The fusion of the 4 flames had already reached a terrifyingly high temperature. Now, another flame had fused into the giant fireball, causing the fireball to undergo a qualitative change and its power to increase by several times. Run! Lai Xian's eyes widened as he suddenly roared. The fusion of the 4 flames was not much of a threat to him, but now, the fusion of the 5 flames was something even he had to use all his strength to block. If he was already in such a state, the fate of the others could be imagined. After all, Lai Xian was a reincarnated true immortal of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom. He naturally did not want the many dukes present to die here. For example, Duke Feng, Duke Yu, and the others had some understanding of the Tao of Fire and could feel the terrifying power of Su Zimo's mystic technique. Now that they heard Lai Xian's warning, they did not hesitate to crush their teleportation talismans. It was a small matter if they could not snatch the Lingxia seal, but if their cultivation was crippled or they died because of it, it would be too late for regrets. Brother Zong, Princess Yu Yan was still hesitant as she subconsciously transmitted her voice. Zong Feiyu did not waste time and only said one word. His judgment was the same as Lai Xian's. Among the cultivators present, only he, Yu Hai, and Lai Xian could block this mystic technique. The rest would not be spared. Some cultivators saw that the situation was bad and did not dare to hesitate after hearing Lai Xian's warning. They quickly retreated from the Shura battlefield. However, some cultivators still had a trace of hope. When Su Zimo's Pentati Dao fire exploded in the crowd and the flames spread in all directions, it was already too late for these people to escape. Some cultivators were at the center of the Pentati Dao fire and were instantly vaporized. Their bodies and souls were destroyed, and not even a trace of ash was left. Boom, boom, boom. Zong Feiyu, Lai Xian, and Yu Hai summoned their bloodline phenomenons at the same time to resist the Pentati Dao fire. Zong Feiyu's bloodline phenomenons actually manifested a tall human figure that stood tall and looked down on everyone. It was in the sea of fire and protected him. Around Yu Hai's body, a deep blue ocean appeared, rolling up raging waves to resist the surrounding flames. Lai Xian stood in the sea of flames, 9 suns hanging in the sky behind him. However, at this moment, his eyes were closed. His entire body was bathed in the Pentati Dao fire. The 9 blazing suns became even hotter, as if they were sensing something. Zong Feiyu and Yu Hai looked at each other and activated their bloodline anomalies. Stepping on flames, they charged towards Su Zimo in a triangular formation. Yu Hai lightly shouted, "Su Zimo, if you keep using this secret technique, let's see how long you can last." In his view, Su Zimo was a Tier 7 heavenly immortal after all. Releasing heavenly slaughter and earthly slaughter, including this kind of fire-grade secret art, was a great burden on his primordial spirit. What he didn't know was that Su Zimo's nascent spirit had already reached the level of a Tier 9 heavenly immortal when he was a Tier 6 heavenly immortal. Now, Su Zimo was a Stage 7 heavenly immortal, and his primordial spirit had surpassed that of a Stage 9 heavenly immortal. With the support of the Six Tusks' divine power, his primordial spirit was infinitely close to that of a true first-realm cultivator. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to sense the 6 true immortals of divine firmament palace in the sky above the ancient city. Su Zimo, you will die today. Zhong Feiyu had already put away his previous frivolous attitude. He now saw Su Zimo as the most powerful opponent in his life. Before this, he wanted to kill Su Zimo only to please Zither immortal Meng Yao and get the Jade Purity Jade Scroll. Now, his biggest goal was to kill Su Zimo and eliminate the threat. He didn't dare to imagine that if Su Zimo cultivated to Tier 8 or Tier 9 Heavenly Immortal, no one in the same realm would be able to fight him head-on. Su Zimo sneered. If you want to kill me, I'll add more fuel to the fire. Before he finished speaking, he held the 7-tailed phoenix feather fan with both hands and fanned it 3 times at the fire in front of him. The 7-tailed phoenix feather fan was originally a top-grade magical treasure of the Tao of Fire. Although it was suppressed by the white tiger blood malevolence and could not condense a divine phoenix, the power of the fan was still present. The fire borrowed the strength of the wind. Coupled with the raging wind created by a magical treasure of the Tao of Fire, the power of the Pentati Tao fire was raised to another level. Glug, glug. The deep sea around Yu Hai turned extremely hot in the blink of an eye. Countless bubbles rose and the surface of the sea was covered in mist. Even Yu Hai's bloodline phenomenon was about to be vaporized by the Pentati Tao fire. Zhong Feiyu's situation was not much better. The human figure behind him dimmed significantly and swayed slightly, as though it could not withstand the burning of the Pentati Tao fire and could collapse at any moment. Don't waste time with him. Use your essence spirit secret technique and kill him directly. Zhong Feiyu hurriedly communicated with Yu Hai with his spirit consciousness. All right. Yu Hai had planned for this long ago. If the two of them joined forces and released their essence spirit secret technique, they could definitely deal a fatal blow to Su Zimo. As long as Su Zimo's essence spirit was attacked, the flame's secret technique he released would be destroyed on its own. Swoosh. Yu Hai's glabella shone brightly as his massive spirit consciousness condensed continuously. In the blink of an eye, a seemingly small mountain flew out of his consciousness. However, it contained a tremendous amount of spirit consciousness power and flew towards Su Zimo. Go! A sword beam flew out from Zhong Feiyu's glabella as well and shot towards Su Zimo's face instantly. Essence spirit? Su Zimo had a fearless expression and chose to ignore the sword chi secret skill released by Zhong Feiyu. He gathered his spirit consciousness and channeled his secret skill. If you want to fight with your essence spirit, I'll show you what an essence spirit secret technique is. Su Zimo hollered and released the Rulai Dermic seal first. A bedazzling golden rune collided with the incoming mountain. The collision of essence spirit secret techniques was silent but extremely dangerous. Yu Hai's expression changed starkly and his body swayed slightly. His face was pale and he nearly fell from midair. In a clash of essence spirit secret techniques, he was the one who was disadvantaged and his essence spirit was shaken. This person's essence spirit is even higher than mine. Yu Hai was shocked. Furthermore, the power of Su Zimo's essence spirit secret technique of the Buddhist monasteries was shocking as well. The essence spirit of Qinglian's true body was fused with the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit and cultivated the Forbidden Secret Manual, the Perfection of Wisdom Nirvana Sutra. In terms of essence spirit fights, he had never met a match among those of the same cultivation realm. Back in the Emperor's tomb, it was because he released a series of essence spirit secret skills consecutively that Yun Ting was defeated and almost killed. Realizing the danger, Yu Hai took out a teleportation talisman without hesitation, wanting to escape from this place. However, the moment the teleportation talisman shattered, Su Zimo's second essence spirit secret skill descended. It was like a bolt of lightning that streaked through the night. A long whip that shone with endless lightning tore through the void and the sea of flames, whipping his body with a thud. Yu Hai shuddered and the light in his eyes dimmed gradually. However, his figure was still brought away from the Shura battlefield by the power of the teleportation talisman and vanished. Chapter 25:18. Zhong Feiyu did not care about Yu Hai's life or death. The only thing he noticed was that his spirit consciousness sword qi had entered Su Zimo's consciousness without any obstruction. Did he succeed? Zhong Feiyu believed that no primordial spirit could block his sword qi. Moreover, his primordial spirit was far beyond a stage 9 heavenly immortal. His primordial spirit was infinitely close to the true self realm. However, it was a pity that the moment the sword qi entered Su Zimo's consciousness, it vanished without a trace like a stone ox entering the sea. Su Zimo did not seem to be affected or hurt at all. Not only that, Su Zimo even turned around and smiled at him. That smile sent chills down Zhong Feiyu's spine. Su Zimo dared to make such a decision because he had the Qinglian sword in his mind, which could neutralize Zhong Feiyu's sword qi. Among the primordial spirit secret techniques that he had mastered, the most powerful one was not the previous two, but the reverse scale. He had purposely left this primordial spirit secret technique for Zhong Feiyu. Su Zimo smiled at Zhong Feiyu. Then, a palm-sized dragon scale flew out from between his eyebrows and flew towards Zhong Feiyu. The dragon scale looked ordinary, but Zhong Feiyu felt a strong sense of danger when he looked at it. However, he was unwilling to retreat just like that. He was different from others. His own strength was already a level higher than others. With the teleportation talisman in hand, he could leave any time he wanted. It was impossible for Su Zimo to kill him. At this thought, Zhong Feiyu did not retreat. Instead, he released a divine sense and tried to touch the dragon scale. Just as the two primordial spirit secret techniques touched each other, Zhong Feiyu's expression changed drastically. He immediately cut off the divine sense and retreated. However, the reverse scale had already locked onto him. It followed his qi and continued to chase after him. Circle the ground. At this moment, Su Zimo's voice sounded again. A peerless mystique descended. Once Zhong Feiyu was trapped in the same spot, the reverse scale would descend and he would have nowhere to run. A divine ability like Prison Circle was of no threat to Zhong Feiyu. However, as he looked at the incoming dragon scale, a deep fear appeared in his eyes. Su Zimo, in the battlefield of Shura, it's difficult for me to use my skills. Today, I'll let you be proud. You and I will definitely have a battle in the Heavenless tournament. Before he could finish his sentence, Zhong Feiyu crushed the teleportation talisman without hesitation. With a flash of light, he left the battlefield in Shura. Ni Lin still wanted to follow the trail left by Zhong Feiyu and chase after him. Unfortunately, Zhong Feiyu was pulled out of this space. Although the reverse scale was powerful, it could not cross this space and gradually dissipated. Su Zimo was not surprised by this result. Zhong Feiyu was too cautious. Once he sensed the danger, he didn't go against the reverse scale. Furthermore, Zhong Feiyu's primordial spirit was not below his. Otherwise, his origin soul would have been severely injured from that light touch. In the sky above the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals of the divine firmament palace looked at the scene below. They were stunned and shocked. They had anticipated that this battle would be extremely intense. However, they never expected that Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, Luo Yang Tianxian, Yu Hai, and Xie Tianhuang, who were predicted to be in the top 10 of the heaven list, along with hundreds of other perfected immortals, would be defeated by one person. Song Su and Yu Hai were dead. Luo Yang Tianxian's lifespan was reduced. Although he was still alive, he was no different from a cripple. Xie Tianhuang, on the other hand, managed to survive and escape with serious injuries. Among the 5, only Zhong Feiyu managed to escape unscathed. Moreover, in the last scene, Zhong Feiyu was obviously scared off by Su Zimo's methods and did not dare to fight again. The other hundreds of perfected immortals also suffered heavy losses. Only less than half of them managed to escape alive. The rest were buried in the sea of fire. Shen Zhe's expression was complicated. He murmured, "Who would have thought that the fight for the seal would end in such a way?" Shen Yun sighed and said, "Yes, before this, everyone thought that this section of the Nirvana bridge would be filled with blood and that the island would be covered with corpses, but one person guarded the Nirvana bridge alone and stopped everyone outside. Only Xie Qingqing reached the island alone. It was easy for her to get the Lingxia seal. Up until now, Shen Feng still found it unbelievable. Xin Yan sighed. Xie Qingqing's team only had 2 people left, but they were the final winners. Chaos, chaos. Shen Hong kept murmuring. What? The others asked instinctively. Shen Hong looked at the heaven list in front of her and smiled bitterly. In this battle, Su Zimo alone turned the heaven list upside down. It's a complete mess. Indeed. Fairy Shen Crane nodded and said, 3 of the top 10 of the heaven list are completely eliminated. Moreover, among the dead cultivators, there are also people on the heaven list. How should this kid be ranked? Shen Hong asked. At least 3rd. In my opinion, he should be ranked 2nd. He's only a level 7 heavenly immortal, but he's ranked 2nd. This doesn't make sense. No matter what, he should be above Zhong Feiyu. Although Zhong Feiyu could not unleash his full strength in the battle in Shura, Su Zimo was facing more pressure in this battle. Yes, I think he should be ranked 3rd. After all, Qin Gu is not weak. Fairy Shen Crane said, moreover, to him, there is no difference between 2nd and 3rd. If nothing goes wrong, the 1st place on the heaven list will only appear between him, Yun Ting, and Qin Gu. Who will write the update on Su Zimo? Shen Hong asked. Although it was only 1 battle, there was a lot of information. I'll do it. Fairy Shen Crane volunteered. Don't rush, wait first. It's not over yet. Shen Yun reminded. There were only 2 people left in front of the Blood Lake. Lai Xian and Su Zimo. Shen Hong's expression changed and she suddenly said, interesting. This Lai Xian actually comprehended something from Su Zimo's secret flame technique just now. He seems to have gained quite a bit. Looks like Lai Xian has a chance to defeat this kid? Indeed, it's possible. Don't forget, Lai Xian is currently at his peak, and Su Zimo just fought a fierce battle. He has used up a lot of his trump cards. Fairy Shen Crane quickly said, even if Lai Xian wins, Su Zimo's ranking will not change. Of course. The other true immortals chuckled. On the battlefield below, the Pentati Dao fire was gradually extinguishing. Lai Xian looked at Su Zimo and was not in a hurry to attack. He said in a low voice, Su Zimo, I won't take advantage of you. Today, you have fought many powerful enemies. You have used up too much energy. I won't hide it from you. I just comprehended something, and my Flaming Sun Sutra broke through again. If I attack you now, it will be bullying. Su Zimo looked at Lai Xian quietly. After he finished speaking, he strode forward and said, stop talking nonsense. If you want to fight, let's fight. Chapter 25:19. Looking at Su Zimo who was charging over, Lai Xian shook his head slightly and said, that's good as well. After I suppress you later, I'll spare you once and we'll be even. That was the only way he could get rid of his worries. Otherwise, every time he saw Su Zimo in the future, he would subconsciously think of how he was suppressed and released. Lai Xian channeled his bloodline phenomenon and his blood qi surged. 9 suns hovered behind him, emitting a terrifying heat and blazing flames as his aura continued to rise. Everyone thinks that when the Flaming Sun Sutra is cultivated to its peak, the bloodline phenomenon will appear with 9 blazing suns. Lai Xian said in a deep voice, even many members of the Flaming Sun royal family don't know that the peak of this sutra technique is to return 9 to 1 and transform into a blazing sun. The moment he said that, the 9 blazing suns behind Lai Xian collided rapidly and released a blinding brilliance. Even with Su Zimo's eyesight, he narrowed his eyes and paused for a moment. In reality, the light of the 9 suns returning to 1 was enough to blind cultivators of the same cultivation realm. Su Zimo's eyes were intact and it was all thanks to the illumination and nether glow divine stones in his eyes. Earlier on, I was able to comprehend the final true essence of the Flaming Sun Sutra from your Flame's secret technique. You're the first person to endure such power. Even though you're defeated, it's still an honorable defeat. Lai Xian was extremely confident and seemed to have fused with the gigantic blazing sun behind him as he charged towards Su Zimo. 9 to 1 and 9 blazing suns turned into a single sun, causing Lai Xian's combat strength to surge. Su Zimo was still in midair. His palms were pressed together and his fingers were intertwined, forming a strange dermic seal. Me! At the same time, Su Zimo chanted Sanskrit and raised the dermic seal, striking it towards Lai Xian. Instantly, Su Zimo seemed to have vanished from Lai Xian's eyes. All he saw was a pitch-black towering mountain range that was endless like a wheel, enveloping a pure land within. An incomparably ferocious Buddhist dermic seal descended. Great Vajrawheel Seal. Back in the Avicii Hell, Su Zimo was fortunate enough to obtain the teachings of Emperor Ananda. He hid the true essence of the Great Vajrachakra Seal and the Great Sumeru Seal in the Asoka flower. A world in a flower. That was why he was able to see the complete Vajra and Sumeru divine mountains and comprehend the essence of these two seals. Boom! An earth-shattering boom rang out. Lai Xian's charging figure was actually stopped by Su Zimo's Great Vajrachakra Seal, unable to take even half a step forward. Even the Great Sun anomaly behind him began to tremble slightly. The Great Vajrawheel Seal was indestructible and unshakable. Lai Xian felt that what he had crashed into was not a person, but a towering, incomparably sturdy mountain peak. How is this possible? Lai Xian abruptly circulated his blood qi and let out a long howl. The great sun phenomenon behind him burst forth with endless flames that engulfed the great diamond mountain. Bang! Su Zimo chanted the Sanskrit mantra, and his hands changed the seal again, as if another mountain was formed. The moment the mountain peak descended, Lai Xian felt an unimaginable pressure. If the great Vajrachakra mountain gave him the feeling that it was indestructible and unshakable, if that was the case, there was only a single word that could describe Su Zimo's second dermic seal: heavy. It was heavy and majestic, descending with a shocking might. How could there be a living being in this world that could withstand such a terrifying mountain peak? The great Mount Meru seal had descended. Su Zimo cultivated the perfection of Wisdom Nirvana Sutra, and any Buddhist dermic arts he released would be much stronger. Furthermore, the power of the two dermic seals of the Buddhist monasteries was extremely terrifying to begin with. Boom! Another deafening sound echoed. A majestic mountain peak crushed down on Lai Xian's body heavily. The gigantic blazing sun behind him shook violently, as though it could not withstand the burden. Its brilliance flickered and it could collapse at any moment. At that moment, Lai Xian was carrying the great Mount Meru on his back and the great Diamond Mountain in front of him. Unable to advance, he was under immense pressure and his bones crackled. Ah! Lai Xian roared and bit the tip of his tongue gently, spitting out a mouthful of essence blood. He released a secret skill and his strength rose once more as he tossed the great Mount Meru out. However, at that moment, it was as though a gigantic anaconda had slithered over beneath his feet and coiled around his body instantly. At that distance, Su Zimo would not give him any chance at all. Lai Xian had just let go of the great Mount Meru when he was restrained by Su Zimo once more. His great sun phenomenon was already on the verge of collapse under the consecutive suppression of the great Vajrachakra seal and great Mount Meru seal. Now that Su Zimo was entangling him in close proximity, it broke down completely. Almost in the same situation, Lai Xian was once again restrained by Su Zimo's python. His eyes bulged, filled with blood vessels, and he could not move at all. He could only hear the sounds of bones rubbing against each other coming from his body. As long as Su Zimo exerted strength, Lai Xian's body would explode. Su Zimo's palm hovered above Lai Xian's head the entire time and he did not even have the chance to release his essence spirit. Lai Xian was way too aggrieved. Previously, he was distracted to save Duke Yen and was taken advantage of by Su Zimo. That was understandable. But now, the two of them were fighting openly. In less than 3 moves, he was suppressed by Su Zimo once more. The most frustrating thing was that it was the exact same move twice. Lai Xian felt his vision darken and his consciousness fade as he gradually could not hold on. All of a sudden, his body lightened and the suffocating and omnipresent pressure from earlier on vanished instantly. Lai Xian knelt on the ground and panted heavily. "I've said that I'll let you off once more after I suppress you." Su Zimo's voice sounded not far ahead. Lai Xian did not raise his head. He no longer knew how he was going to face Su Zimo from now on. More importantly, a sense of helplessness rose in his heart. He had cultivated the Blazing Sun Great Solar Sutra to its peak and condensed the bloodline phenomenon of 9 suns as one. However, he was still no match for Su Zimo, who had just gone through a huge battle and was suppressed in 3 moves. He felt that he might never be able to surpass this person in the future. Raising his head, Lai Xian looked at Su Zimo, who was not far away, with a conflicted expression. This cultivator, who looked like a weak scholar, gave him the feeling that he was an unshakable Great Titan Mountain, an unstoppable Great Meru Mountain. He was unable to surpass the immense pressure. Even if he was a reincarnated perfected immortal with 2 lifetimes, he would not be able to surpass this person. Unlike how he predicted the outcome of the other people in the top 10 of the heaven ranking, Su Zimo did not kill Lai Xian. Firstly, it was because of Xie Qingqing's request. Secondly, he could tell that Lai Xian was an upright person. Thirdly, Su Zimo had another thought. If not for Xie Qingqing's plea, Lai Xian would have been killed long ago. In a sense, Xie Qingqing was Lai Xian's lifesaver. Now that Xie Qingqing had successfully obtained the Spirit Dawn seal and was in charge of a territory, she lacked a top expert by her side, and Lai Xian was a good candidate. With Lai Xian's talent and experience, he would definitely become a perfected immortal in the future. With his help, Xie Qingqing would definitely be able to gain a firm foothold in the royal family of the Flaming Sun Immortal Kingdom. It had been midnight for the past few days. He wondered if he could make it into the top 10 of the monthly votes. Now, he was in the top 20, end of chapter. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.